Fuckers. Hello, Chassos. How is everybody doing on this wonderful day? My name is Jay. Sorry for the flashbang. Let's go into the actual browser view. Welcome to today's stream where we are going to be doing a little bit of Tau content. Now, 40k is a very interesting game. And it would not be a stretch to say that there is a lot that is involved in just getting your stuff onto the table. And whether you're a casual or you're going all the way up to going into a tournament, the choices that you make are incredibly interesting and can affect the game in a number of ways. Now, the first thing that I'm going to say, a little caveat to this stream, is that it is my opinion that all of Tau's detachments are currently viable in one way or another. If you like something, and I point out a weakness or a reason why I would play one over the other, do not take that as you doing something wrong or playing the game wrong or whatever else. We're all grown-ass adults. We can play in any way that we want. And in fact, it's my opinion that most people actually stumble because of choices that they make during a game and not actually their list or their detachment. That said, detachments give us a bunch of different ways that we can play the game, and we're going to go through every single one of them. We're going to start at the stuff that we had in the book, and then we're going to expand out to our Grotmas and post-Grotmas detachment, and I'm going to give you reasons to take every single one of them and some of the big selling points of each of these detachments. If you guys are enjoying the content, obviously give it like and share and all that internet things, or don't. I'm not your dad. Thank you to all of my patrons and YouTube members who make all of my videos possible. If you would like to join them, potentially get some coaching for yourself, there are links in the description of the YouTube video to my website where I sell coaching packages and the higher tiers of Patreon where you can get my time every single month as part of your benefit. All right, so all the plugging out of the way, and you know I love a good plug. So, Bogan, how you doing? Leaving New South Wales for Vic, so I've got 2 hours to kill. Let's go, fuck yes. Dan, you're a nerd. I'm going to say that right now. You're a nerd. I said I wasn't your dad. What? Anyway, let's start with the killing blow. Mont'ka. This is, in my opinion, kind of the iconic Tau detachment. Now, Mont'ka is one thing and one thing only. And that is, insert cars meme here, speed. It is unbelievable speed. Let's look at the detachment rule, where during the first, second, and third battle rounds, ranged weapons equipped by Tau Empire models from your army have assault, and during the first, second, and third battle rounds, while a unit is a guided unit, its ranged weapons have the lethal hits ability. Now, for anybody who might be curious why I decided to just randomly spring this stream, I was actually doing some coaching early today with a really lovely Australian dude who, like, when I was talking about some of the detachments, it really occurred to me that there are so many different choices for somebody to make that, like, finding a starting point can be really difficult. So if you're here and you're very experienced with Tau, obviously I will be doing explanations for everything. I'm not trying to, like, dumb shit down or talk down, but I want to hit the broadest range that I can from, like, new casuals starting out their journey and people that are wanting to play this at the highest level. So, killing blow, obviously very fast. Assault, allowing you to advance and shoot, is incredibly powerful, and lethal hits on a guided unit is very good. Now, one of the key weaknesses, and I will start with this, is that you only have a detachment rule for the first 3 rounds of the game. Now, usually the trap here that a lot of people fall into is that they overextend on their first turn, get massively clapped back, and then feel really bad because they feel like they're pressured to do it. It's my opinion that really Mont'ka, you have a quick trading unit in turn 1, and then you've got all of your stuff online for turn 2 once your opponent's had to step out and do whatever, and potentially a big go turn on turn 3 once you've chewed through some of your opponent's models. Now, what are some of the tools that we use to be able to do that? And I will allow that from Moody. What is the point of the stupid notification setting when YouTube doesn't fucking use them? This is why I actually really do recommend, if anybody is even a little bit inclined, the $5 tier on Patreon gets you access to the the Discord notifications go off like clockwork, absolutely every single time. And even if you just sub for 1 month and then cancel, that's absolutely fine. You will be in the Discord for the rest of your life, unless you do something shitty and I have to remove you. But I haven't had to do that yet, so that's kind of cool. All right, so the tools that Mont'ka uses. One of the big ones is Strike Swiftly. Now, this one, there have been arguments to not take this. Strategic Conqueror, and I will get to that, has been the more common one recently, looking at some of the World Championship of Warhammer lists. But Strike Swiftly is incredibly valuable because you put it on a leader. They have to start on the board, so just remember if you take Breaches and Devilfish and all that sort of stuff, because the Fireblade is an excellent holder of this, that Fireblade cannot be in a transport. You can't select him for this ability. He must start on the board, but there are ways around this, and I'll talk about that in a second. You pick 2 friendly units within 6 of the bearer, and bear in mind that is within, not wholly within, so you can just, give them the tip. And then those units get Scout 6. Now, that is incredibly important because getting out of your deployment zone and getting that extra 6 inches of movement, I say this all the time to my wife and she doesn't believe me, there's a lot you can do with 6 inches. And every 6 inches counts. So being able to move things out of your deployment zone not only takes pressure off where you can put things, but it also allows you to potentially take an aggressive line in your first turn. Now, I'm just going to load up Tabletop Simulator in the background, because I did forget to hit that. And I will go over to that and I'll give you some examples before we move on to the next detachment. But Strike Swiftly is really good. Now, the other one that we want to talk about is Strategic Conqueror, because this one, at the start of the first battle round, before the first turn begins, again, this model has to be on the board or in Strat Reserve. And my thing just went over the top of it. You select one objective marker on the battlefield while the friendly Tower Empire model is within range of that objective, and the bearers on the battlefield add 1 to OC. Now, you might look at that, especially if you're a little bit newer, and go, well, that doesn't seem all that great, like 1 OC, whatever. But it actually comes up a lot more than you would think, especially in a game where trading patterns are so important. Being able to, like, for example, just use a single Kroot unit to go and steal an objective off somebody, you put, because they're 2 OC base, if they then become 3 OC base, 5 models becomes 15 OC. Very few units in the game are able to contest against that. You haven't killed anything, you haven't done anything, you've just walked on, and you've taken that off. We're supposed to be getting more detachments of Grotmas, so I'm hoping to get a new one. I can say right now that after the... and spoiler for anybody who doesn't want to know about this shit, so you've got 5 seconds before I spoil. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, if you are still here, you've consented to spoilers. We won't be getting a detachment, so far as I know. There was a leak that brought out the armies that are getting detachments. The release of the CSM detachment being on that list, as well as the Astra Militarum detachment being on there, kind of gave a lot more credibility to it. We essentially got out of event phases experimental prototype Carter. So I don't believe we're actually going to get a new detachment. I would love one. That'd be great, but I am not holding my breath. So I really, really hope that people don't repeat the mistake of last Grotmas, get their hopes up for a bunch of stuff that they're probably not going to get, and then feel super bad about it. So I hope I'm wrong. Really hope I'm wrong. Hand to heart. I love being wrong. Well, I don't, but it happens so rarely. But I don't think we are. Anyway, Strategic Conqueror, being able to designate an objective, especially one that either you want to put like a nothing burger unit on, like if you were to just have like a Ghost Kill on there, and it's 3 OC, goes up to 4 OC, then your opponent has to consider what units it can bring across to try and take it off you. If they're a relatively low OC army, then they go, okay, normally I'd be able to walk on there and take it off you. With like, if I've got a bigger vehicle that's 3 OC, I can contest you, but now you're 4 OC and I can't do it. Or an objective that you're going to be brawling like a motherfucker over. That will allow you to swing the game very, very regularly. Now, I will say that Strike Swiftly is relatively expensive. Strategic Conqueror, not so much, but you always have to consider this in your list composition as to whether you can fit these things in. Last one that I'm going to shout out is Exemplar of the Mont'ka. This one, just as like, there's a lot of times that list will come in at 1990 points. And you're like, all right, 10 points left over. This is still fantastic. Put this on something like a Fire Knife unit where you're going to want to get multi-turn value out of it anyway. And it means that, and we actually did this morning with the guy that I was coaching, where I went for an Enforcer over my usual Cold Star that I would love to have because I've got 4 turns of Assault. The extra 2-inch move is nice, but with a Stratagem for Auto Advance 6, I don't need to like spend the extra points there. I can put them into something else, and it made for a very, very good list with a unit that's going to be using this detachment rule for a lot longer, which adds extra pressure to your opponent. Now, elephant in the room, coordinated exploitation. While I love the idea of
You
it,
might not get a detachment, but the 2 new CH characters have me excited.
absolutely, Collegiate Titanic, and thank you so much for being here, dude. It's good to see you again. I haven't seen you for the last couple of streams. Hope everything's going well for you. Thank you so much for the super chat. Twitch subs, get some fucking rails in the chat. Coordinated exploitation. I would love for this to be more usable than it is. One of the big problems that I have with it right now is like the price I kind of get, but our problem is leaders. So if I look at the things that we can put this on, Fireblade his unit wants to benefit from guiding. He doesn't want to give it away. Named character, Cold Star and Enforcer. There is an argument where this could go on a Cold Star that's in a Fire Knife unit, I guess, or an Enforcer unit, either one, on a Star Scythe or a Fire Knife unit. Now, Star Scythes with Flamers don't need guiding. They're a great guiding unit. Cold Star or Enforcer with a Fire Knife unit, similar sort of thing. They get full rerolls to hit. We've also got a Stratagem for full rerolls to hit in Mont'ka. There is an argument that you could take it on one of them and use them for guiding. But I also find that even with rerolls, I want to be hitting on 3s. I don't want to be hitting on 4s with full rerolls. Now, there's a little bit of bias there because my dice are cursed and, you know, like I can't get away from it no matter what I do. Like I have sacrificed so many goddamn chickens and geese. I don't know how to do this. And like I did just have a firstborn, but I'm not going to go the biblical route with it because that'd just be really fucked up. And so like there is a little bit of bias there for me, but I just find that for the points investment that I'm doing, if I can instead put points into other units and take one of these 3, it's just so much more usable. Now, what I would say is that if GW want to fix this, they could do it very, very, very quickly and easily. Remove while the bearer's leading a unit. Why are we doing this? Why does it have to be leading the unit knowing the range of leaders that we have? We don't, like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense, but it would make sense if we had a non-named character that could lead Pathfinders or stealth suits. And side tangent, okay, so everybody forgive me, I'm about to yap a little bit. I really think there was a missed opportunity with the stealth suit release to make them like the Hyper Raveners for Tyranids, where they're a character leader unit, and you can take enhancements on them, and then you sort of like, you know, you create this big brick of stealth suits that's got like really good guiding and whatever. Like it was a missed opportunity by GW to make coordinated exploitation and the one that we're going to look at in Kauyon relevant and usable. But yeah, okay. Then let's go to our stratagems, because stratagems are one of the big things we do to interact with the game. And there are a couple of very, very, very big standouts. Pinpoint counteroffensive is the first one to talk about. Every Tau creator has been talking about this after the stealth suit change, that after a Tau Empire unit, excluding Kroot from your army that was just destroyed, use the stratagem, and until the end of the battle, every time a Tau Empire unit, excluding Kroot from your army, makes an attack targets the enemy unit, you can reroll the hit roll. Now, notice it doesn't say Vespered. So we care about when Vespered get killed, but we don't care about when Kroot get killed. weird bit of Tau racism, but, I guess it exists everywhere. But this one is just fantastic. This is what you will save a lot of your CP for because you're going to be trading anyway. You're going to be sending Pathfinders and, Piranhas and all that sort of stuff. Very cheap units. They get killed off, not hyper easily, but at the very least, they are going to die in trading patterns. And it means that that enemy unit is debuffed for the rest of the game. And rerolls for Tau is exceedingly important. Mordian disagrees. I mean, he's welcome to, but he claims to not be a Tau player. If somebody's not a Tau player, then it invariably means that they don't really have an expert opinion. I mean, and if I based all of my decisions and opinion on what Mordian agrees with or not, I don't know where I would be. The second one to talk about is aggressive mobility. And that is your movement phase Tau Empire unit. And notice that there are no restrictions on that, no Kroot, whatever. Everything in your army has the Tau Empire keyword. When it advances, do not roll for it. Just make a 6-inch auto advance. That is exceedingly strong. Because one of the things that balances around this game is the variability of dice. If you remove that, then you know exactly what you're going to be doing. Mordian plays Tau because guards say, no, I'm fully aware. I'm just quoting him because he's claiming to not be a Tau player, even though he played Tau. And as far as I know, he won a tournament with Tau with an off-meta strike list or whatever. Don't worry, I'm going to be poking fun at him in my reply about that. But I'm fully aware. Now, Autumn Effect. I think if I am not off base with this, that is the person that I was coaching this morning. I forgot to give you a little bit of homework, and I'm going to DM you if you're not actually here. I want you to review all these, but especially these left side column ones. And the reason for that is that focused fire is also... Okay, I'm going to do something controversial here. It's not good, but it is necessary. Breaches and fire knives both are AP1 on their preferred weapon systems. And I say preferred, breaches can't choose. Fire knives, we love the missiles. Missiles are really, really good. Choose 2 units. They can only attack the one target, but you improve the AP by 1. Cannot use it in the 4th or 5th battle rounds. This, in terms of trading patterns, pushes up your units so much. Extra AP is incredible for those units. Now, some matchups, it won't make a difference. So always be talking to your opponent, asking them about, worsening armor saves to invuln saves, whatever. It's very big against things like Terminators, Custodes, Grey Knights, anything that's got a 2-up armor, or, let me rephrase that, anything that's got 2 AP between its armor save and its invuln save. Or if you can push a unit to not get an armor save by using this. There is nothing worse than hitting a Lehman Russ with a fucking railgun, and for what they've got minuses to AP or whatever, and then they roll that 6 to save. It is the worst feeling you will ever fucking get. Reaction stream when? I don't know yet. I'm just kind of playing it by ear, but I haven't set a time to react to that video. So these left side ones, that's what I want you to focus on. That's homework. Now, for everybody else, the right side ones are fine. Combat debarkation is really, really good for your breaches or pathfinders if you put them in your transports. When your opponent isn't standing on objectives, breaches go, cool, I'll spend 1 CP, don't care, full rerolls to wound. This is a good stratagem, don't get me wrong, but it's only for infantry that disembark. It would be cool if there was a way to apply this to your crisis suits, your riptides, whatever else. At the moment, we can't, so, what can you do? Lord Hestia, good to see you, pal. Said it before, my problem. Someone said, sorry. In Scotland, and I think it's cut off the rest of the message, but yeah, I'll have a read of that one after when I finish my my thought here, and we can finish up with Mont'ka. So combat debarkation is good, if a little restrictive. Pulse Onslaught, 2 CP for -2 to move and -2 to charge. This is a stratagem that's really showing its age. Really, really showing its age. There are a bunch of ways that our opponent's armies can get -2 to move, -2 to advance and charge. It is a strong effect if you can get it down. Like Pathfinder's doing this to somebody, an enemy infantry unit that's potentially wanted to clap back is fine, but 2 CP is just such a sink. I've never found an instance where this is more valuable than auto advance 6, grenade stratagem, full rerolls to hit, or an extra AP. I've never found a reason. And we are one of the few armies left in the game that has a detachment with 2 CP things. So I don't tend to keep this on the forefront of my mind. Counterfire defense systems is good into like a Riptide or like a Ghost Keel or whatever. It's very rarely useful, but there will be niche scenarios where you'll use it. So left side is really the powerhouse, and the detachment rule is the powerhouse here, which isn't really a bad thing, because one of the weaknesses I'll talk about some of our other detachments is that all of the strength is in its stratagems. And that isn't the best design, even though it can be very powerful. So, going into Mont'ka and what I was talking about with Strike Swiftly. So I'm loading up a table here. Let's go to our live scene. And, okay, my head doesn't need to be that big. Although I can't change it in real life, I can change it on camera. Woot woot. I'll use chapter approved because there's a lot of events and whatever that are currently using that. And I think it's the most common one for a lot of players to use the chapter approved pack. Sorry, we've got something simple like Search and Destroy here. Search and Destroy is one of the more common layouts that we get, but this information will be useful on any deployment, not just this one. So if we have, I think this has breaches in it. And I'll just use Darkstrider to represent my Carter Fireblade because I don't think I put a Fireblade in here. So let's just say that this is our breacher unit with the character. Or we use like a Firesite team or whatever. So what we're able to do is have the character sitting something like this, and we measure out, and I'm going to represent this with a little 6-inch bubble. We set up the character, and we've measured out exactly where we can be. Now, what we end up doing with this, the rest of the unit doesn't really matter, is that we go, okay, Devilfish just here, or let's say Devilfish up here. This is a really good one. Normally, you'd never want to put a Devilfish here because immediately you're just going to get blown off the fucking board. If you don't go first, this Devilfish is dead. You would never want to put it there. 6-inch Scout changes that quite significantly because now I can position it in a way where I'm here. And now I'm hidden behind this terrain feature. Now, obviously, like, we'd pinpoint measure and we'd probably end up, like, flipping him around or whatever. So put him like that. Still within the 6, and then we go 6 like this. And then all of a sudden, our Devilfish is in a surprisingly safe position where our opponent kind of has to break his back to get eyes on it, which we wouldn't be able to do without either a Pathfinder unit in here. Death Guard, hate this one. Simple trick. Yeah, they fucking do. Yeah, they do. So we're able to move that in a way where we normally wouldn't be able to. And then we've got a bunch of like flex options where I can have, if I pre-measure fully to where like I would want my hammerhead to be safe, go 6 inches forward, I can now have a hammerhead sit here. And if I go first, I pick him and then bring him 6 forward, and then he can go a little bit further forward, and then 10 inches, I've got a line down this way. Or if I'm not keen on that, I can actually have a crisis unit with a commander aggressively placed, again, looking at 6 inches back. How far can I be? I can go here, have the rest of the unit sitting behind him, and know for a fact that if I don't go first, then my commander and my crisis unit can go back to safety. There are a bunch of things that we can do with this. Obviously, if the Devilfish is sitting here, you don't do that. You do it on another side. But just trying to highlight that this allows you to play other units in your army like you do your Pathfinders, which is place them in a position where I can go safe or I can go aggressive. And that is really, really strong and places a ton of pressure on your opponent. So that's why Strike Swiftly is as good as it is. He can also just pick his own unit. If you go first and you don't want to scout these guys because you've pre-measured and even with all of their movement or whatever, you can't get onto anything, he just goes, all right, my own unit is going to go 6 forward, and then we're going to go 6, and then we're going to whatever, and potentially with an auto advance go here and blow up something on this side. That can also be what you want to do with your Breacher unit. Nothing says he has to pick things other than his own unit. Because if we go back to this, select up to 2 friendly Tau Empire units within 6 of the bearer. Him and his unit is a friendly unit within 6 of him. So Scout 6 to Storm Surge. That's one of the things I did when I ran double Storm Surge. In this, I had 2 6-inch Scout moving Storm Surge with Assault, and one of them got to auto advance 6. My opponents literally couldn't believe how easily I jammed 2 Storm Surges down their throat. And it's, yeah. So that's one of the reasons why I find Strike Swiftly to be incredibly powerful if used correctly, and importantly, if you've got the points for it. So, before I move on to Kauyon, are there any questions from the floor? Anything that people want clarified or anything that just doesn't make sense or that they think I've missed? It feels like it's Ethereal Strike Team, but 165 in points. That's the bit that I always get to, is that will that 165 make its points value back? And a lot of the time, the answer is no. So where could I use that 165 points? That's 2 broadside bodies. Would I get more value out of 2 broadsides shooting as opposed to that strike team and the ethereal and whatever? I mean, probably. It depends how well you use the sustained hits from it. So it can't be a Kroot War Shaper. Oh, sorry, targeting a unit off the board with Focus Fire. No, it has to be 2 units to concede the target. Where's the stratagem? I assume you're talking about Focus Fire. Yep. Actually, 2 Tau Empire units from your army that have not been selected to shoot this phase, and 1 enemy unit. So, okay, even though I will take that back, there's nothing in the wording that says that you can't. This one feels like a rules as intent as opposed to rules as written. I guess raw, somebody could argue that there's nothing that stops you from doing it. I don't think I would do it, personally. But, yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the thing, that the people that are arguing for it, even though it is kind of like the sweat lord, fuck it, oh yeah, but actually I could do this, or I could, like, it feels like that. It feels kind of shitty. But they are actually right. The game is permissive in nature, where if it doesn't tell you you can't do something within the framework of the core rules and whatever, then you assume that you can do something unless you're specifically told that you can't, which is why GW's wording has been so important. So, like, I feel like if I were at one of the events that I'm running as a TO, I would rule against somebody being able to do that. But they would be very, very valid in saying, but rules as written, I can. And then I would point them to that, we have to make FAQs all the time. WTC does theirs, UKTC does theirs. GW come out, like a month after something's a problem and then go, yep, cool, we're slapping this down. So, and really I would be making the decision based off fairness and the health of the game. Not a strict, and this is something actually, to yap again, this is something where I find a lot of people get wrapped around the axles not understanding that they go, no, but rules as written, I can. And you're like, yep, cool, tracking, happy with that. That is a valid argument. But it is also a valid argument from me that it is not healthy for the state of the game. And we should not want to break the game for our own benefit. That's how you get win at all cost douchebags. And even though there are a lot of casual players that align tournament players or competitive players with win at all cost douchebag, it's actually not the case. There are a lot of very, 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 very excellent players that refuse to break the game. Perfect example, Michael House is one of the best, like, Orc players, Thousand Suns players, GSC, seems to really only like playing like high skill cap armies. Was vice captain for Team New South Wales. Absolutely lovely dude. Took when the Orc Grotma stratagem came out, you remember all the sustained hits too everywhere? Refused to play that rule and played a version of the rules that GW eventually implemented. Because to him, he's like, I don't want to win this tournament doing something that I know is just fucking broken and bad for the health of the game. And I really respected him for that. And I think a lot of people do. Why is one of my testicles bigger than the other two? Oh, you mean about Tau? Well, look, when you have a third testicle, it's really important to remember that it's going to bang into a lot of stuff because it's in a position that it's not supposed to be in. And yes, the position of your third testicle might change. So like, you know, you've got left, right, and then front, but then your right one might become your front one and your front one becomes your right one. You've just got to be a little bit more careful about running around because it's likely swelling. I hope that answers your question. How does Tau deal with other armies that can simply position against a one-phase army like Tau? Great question. The biggest thing is positioning, staging, and trading patterns. Yes, they can hide against everything that we want to do, but there is a way to play your Tau where if an opponent does that, they automatically lose the game. And I will have to go back to my live scene because I've gone to TTS. So somebody can do that, 100%. And I've done this a couple of times where I did this against a Death Guard player at the team's event where he was so worried about everything that I could do and, you know, countering my one phase that I had a unit of Pathfinders like basically here in my first turn. And yes, I went first, which helps a lot with this. But if they can't move to objectives, yeah, sure, you can hold this one. That's fine, whatever. But if I'm holding these three and you don't leave your deployment zone for a couple of turns, that's a problem. So really what we're doing is using portions of our army to either force our opponent out onto objectives or into the open, because there's only so many places you can stand and hide and still score full points. And then keeping our core backbone units on the board, firing, getting multi-turn value, all that sort of stuff, turn after turn. That's how you do it. How do I get myself out of this 40k in hobby? Right, I found myself in. I haven't played in months and I feel myself slipping away from Warhammer. Don't know how to feel about it. Honest answer, embrace it. Sometimes we need a break. Sometimes we need to step away from things. Sometimes it is actually healthy to not stay plugged into something if you're not hyper passionate about it. I can't count the number of things throughout my lifetime that I have desperately fallen in love with, and then a few months later realized that I've learned everything about it, I've gotten out of it what I wanted to, and then I had to walk away, and that's okay. That is a natural part of life. There's something very bittersweet about it. There is something very tragic in our minds about it, and letting go is never an easy thing to do. But if you think about it this way, across the course of your life, you will have to let go of everything you have ever enjoyed and everyone you have ever loved. Now that I've hit you with that little bit of existential crisis, everybody welcome to what I have been feeling for the last... breaks are healthy. They are. I think if you pressure yourself less and spend time valuing the things that you do currently enjoy, you will get a lot more out of life. I'm running a Harambe's Revenge Kroot list with lots of heavy tank support. Running auxiliary is proven okay. Am I in the right one? So absolutely, Kroot Hunting Pack is great. Auxiliary Cadre is great for that sort of stuff. We'll be talking about that when we get into our next one, which is a perfect segue. So we'll not talk about Kroot, but then go and talk about Kauyon. Now, this is the Patient Hunter. Kauyon is, in my opinion, one of the better detachments that we have currently. And the rank 1 Tau player in the world agrees, took this to the World Championship of Warhammer, did the best out of any of the Tau players that went. And so what are we talking about here? This is the polar opposite of Mont'ka. During the 3rd, 4th, and 5th battle rounds, ranged weapons equipped by Tau Empire have sustained hits 1. During the 3rd, 4th, and 5th battle rounds, while units guided, ignore modifiers to ballistic skill and to hit roll. Now, there was a little bit of lamentation, and I definitely do... I get it. 100%. Going from having sustained hits 2 when guided to just ignore ballistic skill and hit modifiers is a difficult one, but it's also important to mention that in context, we got a goated update to our army rule, moving away from something that was divisive and clunky and felt really bad if you weren't executing perfectly, to being exactly what it should have been from the start of the edition. And having sustained hits 2 on that would have been broken. Let's throw that out right now with no uncertainty. It would have been broken. So, and honestly, ignoring ballistic skill and hit roll modifiers, as a one-phase army, that is really the only way for an opponent to slow down what we're throwing at them. Yeah, Armor of Contempt is great, but that's been reduced to like 1 activation. If people can fuck with our ballistic skill or fuck with our hit modifiers, it's a really big deal, especially because if they tag us in combat, not every vehicle has a weapon support system that can ignore hit modifiers innately. So that means there is no slowing you down, which is really, really good. Let's talk enhancements. Exemplar of the Kauyon. This, in my opinion, is the best one in the entire detachment. While the bearer is leading a unit, Patient Hunter is active from the 2nd battle round onwards instead of the 3rd. I love slapping this onto a Cold Star Fire Knife missile unit because then even your Overwatch becomes something that people have to worry about. If we are rolling against a full strength unit, which we likely are because it's in your opponent's movement phase, they move something out, I roll, and then I re-roll every single dice. And I know that TTS is going to clown me here, but I'm just going to give you a little bit of an example. Let's say they're moving out, like they want to move block us with a Marine Scout Squad, which normally move blocking us would really, really hurt some of our units, and it would slow us down quite a bit. Let's start with the boys in the unit, then I'll go to the Cold Star. Cool. All right, so that is sustained hits. That's 10 hits on the boys' Overwatch. Winning on 3s with no rerolls, that's a little bit bad, but still 5 saves. Save that. 3 of them are dead immediately. There are 2 left. Then the commander's going to go with his, let's assume he's got 3 missile pods and a cyclic. Rerolling. Cool. Sustained hits. That's 8 hits from the commander. Roll all of those. Scout Squad's dead. That's our Overwatch. So I'm really glad TTS decided to play ball on that one. So that is why I love this on something like a Fire Knife unit with built-in rerolls. This is just incredible. I love this. You can make an argument for like on a Carter Fireblade with a Breacher unit where you're going to dump them out as an answer on turn 2 and just blow up fucking anything in the game. That is also really, really good. But it really just, whoever you put it on, make sure you have a plan for where it's going to be going and how you're going to use it. Thanks for the crisis, Jay. Appreciate it. It was oddly helpful. There is something about bittersweet realities that is oddly helpful. Yeah. My PC just did something. Don't know what it was, but okay, cool. Precision of the Patient Hunter. Each time the bearer makes a ranged attack, add 1 to the hit roll. From the 3rd battle round onwards, add 1 to the wound roll. This is, again, really good if you've got the points left over on a commander. They are one of our best output platforms in the game, almost bar none. Let's go back to the browser view. A little bit more tucked in. There we go. Now, you won't always take this. You don't always have 15 points lying over, and we can get some weird point cost breakpoints. So it's great, but it's not something that I look at as an auto-include. Not nearly as much as I look at Exemplar of the Kauyon, but this is a fantastic enhancement. Solid image projection unit. I really do love this. I wish it wasn't as expensive as it was, but as the French say, c'est la vie. This is after you've deployed, but before you roll for first turn. Pick up 3 units with Tau Empire, which everybody has Tau Empire. Redeploy them, putting them in Strat Reserve if you wish. This I actually used on my double Tiger Shark list that podiumed to GT, and this was just the amount of bait I could do with people with aggressively setting up hammerheads And then when they deploy around me, because they can't answer the pressure that I'm putting down, I just pick them up and move them, and they've just given up massive amounts of room. Massive amounts of room just for like, well, not for no reason, but like they didn't have to because I was so worried about what I was putting down. I love this enhancement. If I can find the 30 points, I love jamming this in. I really do. Through Unity Devastation, this is the counterpart to the Mont'ka one that we were talking about. It also suffers from being incredibly expensive and not having good leaders to use it. Now, this would be instantly fixed by removing the bearers leading a unit. GW, I could never tell if you're watching my shit. I really can't. Like, I talk about stuff, you change stuff, but then you never say anything publicly, and there's some stuff I talk about that you don't change, so it might just be a coincidence. I've got like a fucking 80% success rate of talking about shit that gets implemented. But if you do watch my stuff, please, for the love of fuck, remove leading a unit. This is instantly fixed. I don't even care if it goes up 10 points. It will at least be usable. Please, please, for the love of Shadow Sun's thighs, take out leading a unit. All right, cool. So with that out of the way, Tempting Trap, really, really good stratagem. You can't use it until turn 3, but you activate it when you've got a view of the battlefield. Because you're using this in turn 3, you know exactly where your efforts are going. And that makes it really, really good. +1 to wound on everything. I don't know if you guys have seen Marines in the current meta or played against them, or you play them yourselves. Getting full rerolls to hit and +1 to wound on all of your units are pretty good, right? Pretty fucking good. We can get that on a single objective marker, but still, it's good. For a 1 CP spend, it's really, really good. Point Blank Ambush. This one, I really, really wish they would remove these first and second battle round restrictions. You're already making us target somebody within 9, which is restrictive enough. We don't also need first and second battle round. We really don't. But it is a good stratagem. Getting extra AP, 9 inches. We're going to have people sprinting at us, so this very often happens anyway. But yeah, I wish it wasn't so. Coordinate to engage. Now, this one is another one that everybody will recognize was having a lot of chat about it as to whether you could get +2 ballistic skill. Because you're shooting phase 1 Tower Empire unit from your army, just been selected as an observer. Until the end of the phase, each time model in your unit makes an attack to targets they're spotted. Improve the ballistic skill by 1, and if your unit has marker light, the attack has ignores cover ability. This kind of opens up the ability to play a Pathfinder spam list for Kauyon. Because, and as far as I know, GW haven't slapped it down. Now that I've said that, let's actually look up Warhammer Community for FAQs. They did do a very forward-thinking thing, which is putting out faction packs. So let's bring up Tower Empire. If the FAQ is in here, then, yeah. So OxCAD, experimental, data sheets, FAQ. Yep, that's Patient Hunter, Killing Blow Rule, Pure Tide Engram, Nothing Chip, Sunforge, Trail Shaper, Riptide, Crisis Suits, Flying Stems, no. Kroot Hunting Pack, no. Kroot Hunting Pack, no. Ethereal Coordinated Leadership, no. Marker Drone, no. Let's touch his bodyguard for the Greater Good Army Rule. Yeah, cool. Okay, so you are allowed to do it. GW have had all the time in the world to say, no, you can't. You can use Coordinate to engage to give +2 ballistic skill to Pathfinders because... actually, Loopy, I did do a public apology. Did you miss that? I actually posted... I did a public apology and posted twice as well. Not only in the Discord, but on my YouTube channel. So, looks like I need a public apology for you not seeing my public apology... and then, you know, you've just slandered me. My lawyers will be in touch. Okay. Now, the reason for this is that hit modifiers have... hit and wound modifiers specifically have a no more net result than +1 or -1 to it. That doesn't include ballistic skill and a few other modifiers and whatever. Chad, I publicly apologize for my slander. That is based as fuck, Loopy. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So, and for anyone who's not in the loop... Loopy was actually saying this initially. I had incorrectly because of Ninth Brain taking over. Believe that ballistic skill was included in that, and it even had other people say the same thing to me at tournaments. So I was like, okay, yep, cool, whatever. But that was strictly not the case. And it doesn't matter who's right. It matters that we do what is right. So that is an eligible thing that we can do. That opens up Pathfinders as a really good unit because they are this little self-contained missile. For anybody who's not familiar with the changes that they got after the last data slate, when we got our army rule changed, each time model in this unit makes an attack targets their spotted unit, improve ballistic skill by 1, and that attack has ignores cover. So that means you can get your ions hitting on 2s. Because it's 5s, plus 2 to ballistic skill, puts them on 3s, stand still, heavy. But even then, ions hitting on 3s is still fucking awesome. Pure Tide Chip should be the unit that can move through walls. I will stand behind that 100%. That is fucking awesome. I would love that. Coordinate to engage, great strat. Really great strat. It also allows, aside from the Pathfinder jank, it also allows units that would not normally be good guiders to guide and then gain the benefits for themselves. Or units that are good guiders to just shoot better than they could. Like, for example, Sky Rays. Love this. Being able to reroll against flying units. They have Markalite at base. And honestly, I think that Sun Sharks and Razor Sharks should have Markalite for the reason that, I guess it's not really my previous career yet, but I worked with JTACs, guys in the military that control and direct airstrikes from the ground. And aircraft very, very readily do have their own self-lasing systems where they can guide precision armaments onto a target. It's not always used because you've got things like atmospheric interference and whatever else, but they do have the capability, and it's kind of wild to me that planes that we have don't just equip a Markalite because it'd be so fucking easy to do. But anyway, that's enough of my rant. So coordinate to engage, really, really good stratagem. Combat embarkation may just be the highest point of skill in this detachment. Now, the reason for that is that you've got charge phase, your opponent declares a charge. Infantry, 1 friendly transport. Your unit can embark within that transport. If it does, your opponent can select new targets for that charge. Every model in your Tau Empire infantry unit must be within 3 inches of that transport, and there must be sufficient transport capacity. Now, one thing I'll talk about is the next stratagem after this as to pairing them together and how fucking good it is. Being able to re-embark within a transport is incredible, particularly because it's not wholly within 3, it's just within 3. The distance on that, if I go back to my table and look at my devilfish, I can have something like this, where if I've got, say, for example, grav inhibitor pathfinders. Now, I need 3 inches from this, so everybody needs to be about where he is. Within 3, he can go a little bit further forward. Cool. So as long as everybody's there, we're good. And sorry, I'll just take a second to set this up, and then you'll see why I'm glazing the fuck out of this. Everybody is within 3. So if I've got a unit on the other side, I'll just use, like, whatever to represent it. And they go, okay, cool, I'm setting up for a 6-inch charge. Well, no, it's not. It's an 8-inch charge because of my grav inhibitor drone. Then you charge at me. Then I get back in because I'm within 3. Now, if you want to redeclare the charge, that is a 10-inch charge. And I'm behind a wall. So if they didn't have shooting or whatever, this is great against World Eaters, Corn Demons, Emperor's Children, if they don't want to commit a unit of Noise Marines to killing that unit. Like, there are just so many units this is usable against. And now this guy's out in the open holding his dick in his hand, which isn't a bad thing to do. Like, it feels great, but, you know, it doesn't help you win battles. Believe me, I've tried it. Consequently, I'm not allowed back at the Ritz. So that is why this is such a good stratagem to use. And there are a bunch of ways that you can do this, including a unit on your turn. You move the devilfish forward, advance it, get it out, shoot the crap out or whatever, do it with breaches, whatever. And then on the clapback turn, you just get to get back in. And your opponent has to play around that as a bit of tech. Now, the other part of this is photon grenades. Your opponent's charge phase, just after an enemy unit has declared a charge. Activation point is at the exact same point as combat embarkation. One Tau Empire grenades unit from your army that was selected as a target of that charge. Now, that means, look at the list of people you can use this on. Carter Fireblade, Breacher Team, Strike Team, Carnivores, Firestalkers, Rampages, Riders, Pathfinder Team, Stealth Battle Suits. That unit immediately must take a Battle Shock test, and until the end of the phase, subtract 2 from charge rolls made from that enemy unit. Now, the Battle Shock is actually relevant because a lot of abilities that people can use from stratagems or whatever is actually done at the start of the fight phase, not in the charge phase. So if they're Battle Shocked, can't do shit, you just lose a ton of your efficiency. But then the -2 to charge rolls, if I then go, cool, I'm going to photon grenades you, and then I'm going to combat embarkation you. -2 to charge, take a battle shock. I'm back in my devilfish. Now, if you want to charge the devilfish, you're -2. Now, I have seen a very disingenuous attempt from non-Tau players to be like, oh, nah, but the person whose turn it is chooses the order in which it activates. And if I make you get back in first, then you can't throw the grenade. Which isn't true, because if you get to choose the order and you could invalidate me using the photon grenades, because at that point, I've already activated, I've already spent the CP. You're choosing the order it goes off, not whether it goes off or not. They both activate at the exact same time, and okay, if you're able to pick one and then the other, I will photon grenades, that goes off, and then I will combat embarkation. The order of you being able to, or you believing you can pick which one happens and cancel out the other, fails because they are both activated. You're just resolving the order. Does that make sense to everybody? So don't let somebody make the claim that you can't do photon grenades in combat embarkation, because it's just not true. All right, so that's some wild MTG priority BS angle shooting. We see it way too much. We see it way too goddamn much. Then Wall of Mirrors. End of opponent's fight phase, stealth, ghost kill, or commander Shadow Sun, put him into strat reserves. This is pretty amazing, honestly. Being able to have one of those units, especially a ghost kill, which actually shoots kind of well. It's not efficient, but it does shoot incredibly well. That is a really, really good 1 CP strat. Now, the thing I want to talk about with Kauyon, when would you use it? What are its strengths and its weaknesses? You use this when you understand the Tau army particularly well. I think this is a higher skill ceiling detachment, not quite in the same realm as Oxcad, but near to it. And the reason for that is that this detachment, similar to Mont'ka, baiting newer players into going, oh, I need to go super quick, I need to do everything, and then they get clapped back and they lose the game and it feels super bad. It's a very similar thing with this, where they go, oh, I don't have a detachment until turn 3, so I'm just going to sit back and I'm going to do nothing until turn 3. And that's not how you should be playing it. In my opinion, the sustained hits 1 and ignore mods is compensation for you having to play the game normally, without a detachment or having to trade units. Your remaining units get infinitely better with always on sustained hits, because it's not when they're guided, it's all the time, which is really, really good. You still need to play front to back 40k. You still need to trade and, move block and hold objectives and do everything that you should be doing. If you just roll over, give up the button, say, wake me up when you're done, you're going to lose the game, which is why newer players can struggle with Kauyon and really not do too well with it. So, use this when you've got a good idea of Tau. Its main weakness is being misplayed because of not understanding how the course of the game goes. That said, Kauyon is fantastic. You would not be wrong to play it. All right, before I go on to the next attachment, are there any questions from the chat? I always think piranhas have marker light somewhere in the back of my head. They don't. I know they don't, but every time I go with one, I doubt myself and go check again. It would be cool for them to have marker light. I do kind of get why they don't, but also I don't, because they're Pathfinder's skimmer craft. If anything would make sense, it'd be Pathfinders riding in them to go and do whatever. But having... Oh, no, wait. Was that the Tetra? I think I might be thinking of the Tetra as that one. But, I mean, honestly, the Piranha is a scout craft. It really is. But we wouldn't want to give everything in our army marker light. That would be a little bit too much, but yeah. I was all in on Retcad when the Codex came and I lost all my games before I sucked hard at positioning, getting better now. Yeah, totally fair. Totally fair. All right, so let's go into Retaliation Cadre. Perfect segue. Now, Retaliation Cadre is the Premier Suits list. Well, at least until Experimental Prototype Cadre and innovating the Immortal Tau list. But Retaliation Cadre is what you want to do when it's not just about living through everything. It's, I don't need to live through stuff if you're dead and you're not sending anything at me. That is the real benefit of this one. Now, what does it do? Each time a Tau Empire battlesuit model from your army makes a range attack, targets a unit within 12, improve the strength by 1, and if the attack targets a unit within 9, improve AP of that attack by 1. Now, the important part of this, within 9 means that out of normal, deep strike, or strat reserves, you cannot get the AP bonus. There are ways around that in this detachment, but just to put that down, deep strike or strat reserve must be just outside of 9, or cannot be within 9. This says within, so therefore you cannot get this, but you can get this. Guys, +1 strength and additional AP is fucking good. It really is good, especially getting it for free just from positioning. So if you put a lot of your time into Retaliation Cadre, you will not be disappointed. That said, because you'll be playing a relatively elite style of game, this is very punishing if you miss position or if you make a bad decision. That said, a lot of fun. Internal grenade racks is probably the most fun enhancement that I think we have with the Tau. Move over somebody, and remember, a lot of our stuff flies, especially commanders that are able to take this, like battle suits. You can only take it on the commanders. Really, really good. Every time you end a normal move, note that you can't advance and do it. It's a normal move, but I will get to this when we talk stratagems. Roll 6d6 for each 4+, a unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Pair this with a grenade stratagem from like a Pathfinder unit or a Celsius unit nearby, and you've got 12d6 mortal wounds. It is really, really good. Also, and sorry, the bearer has grenades keyword, so you don't have to use a Pathfinder or Celsius unit. You can just do it from that commander's unit. Really, really fucking good. Prototype weapon system, 15 points. Every time the bearer is selected to shoot, select either lethal hits or sustained hits 1. Note that will activate in Overwatch, meaning you can have a very, very, very scary commander. Until those attacks are resolved, ranged weapons equipped by the bearer have the selected ability. Now, the reason why this works in Overwatch, just real quick aside, things that say in your shooting phase then count as out of phase abilities. So Overwatch is not in your shooting phase, you can't use it. Whereas whenever it says each time the bearer is selected to shoot, Overwatch is selecting that unit to shoot. This is a really good enhancement. 15 points for lethal hits or sustained hits when you need it. Really good. Pure Tide Engram Neurochip. All right, everybody, this is the black sheep of the Codex. This is like each time you target the bearer's unit with the stratagem, roll a d6. On a 4+, you get a CP for 25 points. When some of our stuff got changed, this was something that didn't even work, could not be used. This is bad. This is monstrous levels of bad. This should be, in my opinion, a friendly Tau Empire unit within 12 uses a ability or uses a command point. That ability costs 1 less. I hate that they haven't given us something like what Marines have, Tyranids have, whatever. That was such an easy thing to do with this as an expensive enhancement, but they didn't do it, and as a result, no competitive list has taken this. GW, no competitive list has taken this. Anyway, Starflare Ignition System. This is the best enhancement in the Codex detachments. The Codex detachments. The end of your opponent's turn, if the bearer is not within engagement range, remove that unit from the battlefield, place it in strategic reserves. Now, I had a wonderful gentleman from the US that I was coaching the other day. And he brought up that he loves suits. We did some Retaliation Cadre. And I showed him some tech for these guys that he hadn't thought of and kind of blew him away, which was really cool. So, let me show you that tech now. And again, I will just do another plug. If you guys are looking for some coaching, you want to up your tower game, you want to get some time with me, there are links in the description. My Patreon, as well, the higher tiers, you get coaching with me every month, or there are individual packs you can buy from the website. Go there. It is one of the best ways, if not the best way, to support the channel. So go there, do that, or don't. I'm not your dad. All right, cool. So we have a unit that wants to charge onto a unit here. Actually, you know what? I won't use a 3-wound unit because that wouldn't be the best. Let's go unit of Vanguard Vets. They want to charge onto here. He's setting up his movement. And he's like, yep, cool, happy with this. And I'm like, are you sure you want to stand there? And he's like, yes. I've told him about all my stuff. There's no gotchas, whatever. I go, cool. End of your movement phase. I'm going to rapid ingress. I put my crisis unit down here. I put him far enough away that if the worst happens, he can't just wrap in and touch them and whatever. But cool, rapid ingress, I'm here. If I got a stealth suit unit, I can do it for free. I'll grab 2 of them so that nobody goes, he's going stealth suits. Yes, it's an old list. If I've got stealth suits just here, I just put a guy within 3 and it's legal. Cool, free rapid ingress. Then he goes to charge me. I go, sure you want to charge? And he's like, yes. We do the Overwatch stuff that I showed you before. Every time I've ran this, 4 out of 5 die, if not 5. It's really fucking good. Grimdares, show some chest. I'm sorry for everybody that didn't want this. But also, you're welcome. All right. Thank you for the redeem, buddy. Okay, so we spend 1 CP, Overwatch. They potentially get blown away because Fire Knives full rerolls to hit. Really, 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 really good. Then it's the end of my opponent's turn. He hasn't achieved what he wanted to achieve. My guys go back up. My movement phase, deep strike down here, blow up something else. My unit, in the space of essentially 1 turn, has come down here, killed off a unit in his turn, come down here, killed off a unit in my turn. Pretty fucking good, right? Pretty fucking good. Having a unit that can be everywhere you need them on the board, and because one of the really big downsides of things like, sky rays, broadsides, riptides, that sort of stuff, is that when your opponent knows, once it's on the board, your opponent can pre-measure out exactly where you can be. Your opponent can know exactly where you're going to be across every stage of the game. And he won't know exactly what you'll do, but there's a lot of determinism in looking at, okay, this is on the board, I have information. If you've got a unit that could just fuck off and come down somewhere else every single goddamn turn, that is a ton of pressure for your opponent, especially showing up and doing some shit like that to him. One of the things that I saw Grundy do this with was in a tournament, had an assassin character who moved out. He warned the person, hey, are you sure you want to do that? I've got, whatever. He's like, yeah, no, it's fine. Grundy rapid ingressed his unit. The guy's like, oh, I'm thinking this is correct. The guy's like, oh, no, shit, I don't want to charge anymore because if I do, you're just going to kill me. And he's like, yeah, pretty much. And then completely shut down a play, and then these guys just fucked off at the end of the turn and went somewhere else over the other side of the board. It is pretty incredible. Honestly, it's pretty incredible what you can do with it, which is why this enhancement is, in my opinion, the best codex enhancement. So, how would you coach if I don't have access to TTS? Fam is asking what I want for access. Your coach keeps coming to mind. So that's actually super easy. As long as you've got Discord, and any of the coaching packs give you Discord access, if that's something that people are wanting. Basically, what I do is stream on Discord, And then we obviously you've still got like the conversational pieces of it. I can show you stuff on New Recruit when I'm doing list builds. And then for any of our coaching stuff, we essentially just like you've got a view of my screen. I start running through. You can direct things as you need to. There are ways to work around that 100%. Of course, I went on here and you can't even see. My apologies. I was on TTS, but whatever. And worst case scenario, as part of coaching, I can also help you set up TTS. More than happy to help people get it. Like it is one of the easiest things in the world to get. You need like 15 Australian dollars for TTS and then everything else is free. Once you set it up once, it is hyper easy to do. And the computer to run it is really a potato and up. So yeah. But there are ways to do it 100%. All right, let's talk stratagems because Retcad has some pretty fucking amazing ones. Failsafe detonator is okay. 2 CP, automatically deadly demise. Not automatically deadly demise. Instead, choose whether the result. Oh, sorry, it is. Choose whether the result is a 1 or a 6. If your model does not have it, roll a d6 for each unit within 6 of it. On a 4-up, unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. So we can do this with like crisis suits, commanders, broadsides, that sort of stuff. Or you can jam a Riptide, which has d6 mortal wounds, which, by the way, I don't even think I brought this up in my breakdown of the teams event. The only game I lost, which was the most soul-crushing game that I've ever had where everything went wrong, 2 Riptides exploded and did over 20 mortal wounds across the course of the game. D6 mortals. Sarah, thank you so much for being here. Love you too. Have a good one. D6 mortals is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Now, 2 CP is a little bit expensive. It means that you're probably not going to be using this all the time because other stratagems you've got are fucking premier. But it is nice to have in your back pocket. You can jam a Riptide into somebody's face, say, all right, you kill me in return, and if you do, I'm going to blow up and do a bunch of mortal wounds. It is a viable stratagem if you set up for it. Stim injectors. So, opponent shooting phase or fight phase, 6-up feel no pain for a battlesuit unit. This one is like, it is technically a defensive layer, but I'm not a huge fan of it. Mostly because if your opponent's committing into stuff like crisis suits, which is a great place to use it, they've probably got enough to kill it. And rolling 6s is not something I'm a fan of. And again, I am biased because my dice are fucking cursed and I don't see as many 6s as I would like. I would rather spend my CP elsewhere. Speaking of where I want to spend my CP, Shortened Blade. 2 CP, Farsight gets to do it for 1. Your movement phase, talent by battlesuit that is being set up with Deep Strike. 6-inch, cannot declare a charge. This is amazing for putting a unit in, getting +1 strength and -1 AP from your detachment rule, and being able to position very, very close. There are only a few things left in the game that are able to do 6-inch Deep Strike. A lot of the other ones got nerfed or just aren't being brought by other armies and whatever. This on crisis units is very, 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 very good. This will be one of your biggest CP spends for your sort of turn 2, turn 3 area. And bear in mind, that unit that you're picking up and dropping all the time, you can do Shortened Blade with them. Now, bear in mind, it's your movement phase. Can't do it on rapid ingress, but that is absolutely fine. Wonderful, 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 wonderful stratagem. Absolutely love it. Arachon Protocol. This thing is a monster into certain armies. Shooting phase, battlesuit unit, not been selected to shoot yet. Till the end of the phase, shooting at a unit that has 6 or more models, you get sustained hits 1. If the attack targets 11 or more models, sustained hits 2. That is just great broad output. Just raw output. If you've got, like, say, a burst cannon unit going into a GSC squad, a 20-man, you don't need to commit anything else to it anymore. You are getting sustained hits 2 on burst cannons, which are already a lot of shots, and that will just rip through GSC. Even like fire knives. Damage 2 weapons getting sustained hits is incredible. One of the best World Eaters builds at the moment are the 20-man Berserker units. This, for 20-man Berserkers, get off my fucking board. I was already chewing through a monstrous amount of them on the experimental prototype Carter list because I was able to spend 1 CP, give them sustained hits. It is amazing. I absolutely fucking love this. And you would get sustained hits 2 off this on a unit with full rerolls to hit. Torchstar Gambit, this is probably going to be your biggest CP sink. Your shooting phase, 1 Tower Empire battlesuit unit from that can fly as attacks have been resolved this phase. If your unit is not within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units, it can make a normal move. If it does, your unit cannot declare a charge this turn. Why is this so good? Okay, this is where the fucking tech is going to get spewed all over your fucking face. Grav inhibitor field sucks. Don't ever spend for it. Don't ever spend for it. This fucking sucks. Don't ever use this. Don't ever use this, or do. I'm not your dad. Whatever. So Torchstar Gambit, there are 2 things that I want to talk about with this enhancement and why it is good. First off, if I go back to our TTS and we go our little, where's our crisis unit? There it is. We've just done the rapid play over here. We picked up at the end of our opponent's turn and we drop down here. Our opponent's lined up so that, like, you know, there's like, what, a vehicle in here. There's a big squad just here that we've got to deal with. But then a lot of his other stuff, like he's got some shooting platforms, whatever, that... Can you grab them, please? Thank you. That are sitting, like, over here. Oh, nah, boys, no. That would have the movement to come and shoot us where we are here. Yeah, Arachon, normal move. Cool. We got a cold star. We can go 12. Imagine being able to shoot this unit, delete it, and then go, all right. And now we're here. And with the movement, they don't have the movement to get around this building. You imagine doing that to somebody? You imagine a Fire Knife unit, if you have a second one, or a Sunforge unit, being able to pop out, smack something on the center, and then safely move back. Or safely go aggressive. How good would that be? Or, even better than that, there's not stuff that's going to be able to counter punches. This is an exposed flank where there's not really anything that can contest it. There's like an empty impulsor. This unit is stopping us from deep striking onto the point. So we're 9 away. A little bit more. A little bit more. Cool. All right, we can't stand on that. Or can we? We shoot. We kill. And even if we shoot and we don't fully kill, remember that this is just like a unit from your army that can fly whose attacks have been resolved this phase. It's not immediately after they shoot. So, even if one guy lives, let's say the character limps on, and then we go, cool, pop, pop, you're dead with another unit. We then go, all right, before the end of the phase, my unit now makes a normal move. I take the objective, and I get things that I want. Pretty fucking good, right? So that is some of the use cases of that move, shoot, move. You are absolutely able to do it after deep striking. I don't think it exists anymore, but there was an old guard of 9th Brain, because in 9th, you couldn't move again after deep striking outside of a charge move. So there were people like, oh, you gotta do it in 10th. No, you absolutely can. 10th has been out long enough. There shouldn't be anybody like that. But just in case you run into an argument, it's not a thing. It's not a thing. They're talking out their ass. The second one that I want to talk about is in relation to this bad boy up here, internal grenade racks. It says, ends a normal move. This says, make a normal move. This doesn't specify a phase, so there's no phase locking. You move, grenade them because of this. Then you shoot in phase, you grenade them again, and then you shoot, and then you spend 1 CP and torch star and move over that unit or a different unit, and you grenade them again. That adds up to a total of 24 D6 mortal wounds on 4s. No, sorry, 18. 18 D6. I'm an idiot. But still, 18 D6 on 4s. Let me just, I don't know, math this out real quick. 9 mortal wounds. That was perfectly average, actually. That was fucking perfect. That was, oh my God. And obviously I could work out that, half a dice, 9, whatever, but a visual representation is always nice. Doing 9 mortal wounds. Oh. So, Retaliation Cadre. Let's do our little end breakdown of this detachment. When would you use it? You love suits, you want to kill everything, and you're pretty happy with your positioning and your decision making. You don't mind playing an elite style. You don't need to play the horde style of tower that you can get with a bunch of fire warrior units and whatever in Mont'ka, Kauyon, that sort of thing, Oxcad, whatever. This one, the real weakness of Retaliation Cadre is that if you are not good with your position, if you don't have your ducks in a row with movement and trading patterns, your death spiral will hit way quicker, because you are going for elite things. Once you start losing them, you start having a very, very bad time. And unlike Custodes, where even one of their models can still fuck something up, ours unfortunately aren't like that. I mean, a Riptide obviously is fine because it still shoots just as well at 1 HP as it does 14, but that's a Riptide. That's not every unit we're going to be taking. Love Retaliation Cadre. If there are any questions, chuck them in chat right now. I will spend a bit of time catching up. 6++ is just so weak. Yeah, it absolutely is. Stim Injector's bait. I've never not regretted it. I got a bad feeling about suicide play. I mean, maybe. I shouldn't be too CP, though. I assume you're talking about the Deep Strike. I agree. This is another stratagem that is showing its age. Inarguably, this is showing its age. I think GW are hesitant to do anything about it. I don't think we're going to see anything which is going to change this. But I would like this to come down, even though I don't see them doing it. And that sucks. I don't like that that's the case, but I think that's just the world that we live in. And yeah. Play mostly against Deathwatch, DW. I assume you're not talking about Deathwing Knights. But yeah, Deathwatch just laughs when I say 6+++. Yeah. Why is move so good? Yeah. Look, here's the thing. I know that most people know why move is so good. But like I said at the start of the stream, I want this to cater not just to people who already kind of know what they're doing and whatever. This needs to be broad enough to, appeal to everybody. And there are some people that might not have considered all of the different things you can do with that. I know that, when our codex first came out, there were plenty of people who knew what they were doing that didn't consider those bits of tech until they saw an opportunity in the game. So, yeah. All right, that is our Retaliation Cadre. Now we get to the last detachment that we have from our codex, and that is Kroot Hunting Pack. Now, obviously, Kroot and Auxiliaries is something that's not for everyone, and that's absolutely fine. If people just like for the big suits, or they like for the Fire Warriors, or whatever, then that's perfectly understandable. I, for one, am a massive fan of our Auxiliaries, and Kroot Hunting Pack is absolutely excellent. If we've still got the guy in chat that was talking about I'm running the Guerrillas heavy tank sort of style, this one is fantastic. Now, I'll say right off the bat, so that I don't forget later on because I get caught up in the yaps, Kroot Hunting Pack, in my opinion, is excellent as a shield style list. Now, if people aren't familiar with that from Teams tournaments, shields are something that you put down early into pairings because they can kind of go into anything you need. They won't get blowout wins, but they also won't get smashed. It is a very consistent list that has a lot of tools and does very, very well if played well. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. The first is skirmish fighters. Models from your army have a 6-up invulnerable save against melee attacks and 5-up invulnerable against ranged attacks. Putting a 5-up invuln onto guerrillas makes them unbelievably good and hard to take down, especially with one of the stratagems that we'll talk about later. It changes the maths on killing them so incredibly that a lot of people will add undue pressure to themselves across the course of a tournament and sometimes play themselves, undercommit, and then you just get to smash the fuck out of them back, or overcommit and then another side of the board doesn't have the support it needs, and then you take over that side. Really, really good. Now, the other thing is Hunter's Instincts. Each time a Kroot model from your army makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll if they're below starting strength, add 1 to the wound roll if they're below half strength. Now, this is particularly good with Rampages. Now, obviously, all of the Kroot can make use of this, but I think Rampages are really the standout here. Now, the reason for that is Kroot Line Breakers. Each time this unit ends a charge move, so it's charge phase, select one enemy unit within engagement range of it, then roll 1d6 for each model in this unit that is within engagement range of that enemy unit. For each 4+, they suffer d3 mortal wounds. If one or more enemy models are destroyed as a result of those mortals, take a battle shock test. Now, as I said before, battle shock tests in the charge phase are great because a lot of abilities that activate like Fight on Death or Feel No Pains or whatever happen fight phase. This is happening in the charge phase. So if you're battle shocked going into the fight phase, fuck you, dude. I get to punch you and you don't get to spend your CP. I love that. But the bigger thing is D3 mortal wounds for each Rampager you can get within engagement range. That almost guaranteed kills a model. Or if you take a wound off a vehicle or a big monster or a character, they are considered below starting strength, meaning that all of these attacks are hitting on 2s. Now, if we've got a fully fleshed out Kroot unit, and I'm not going to assume that I've got rerolls from the character, but the Lone Spear is also fantastic, and I highly recommend playing around with that combo. Let me show you what this looks like on a tabletop setting. So let me just put down my Rampages list, and I'll show you guys a little thing. If you are if you guys are interested in the tabletop that I'm using, Hutba is absolutely amazing, and I'll show you one of the big reasons that I believe it is. If you're learning a new style of army, you're trying to wrap your head around a bunch of units, I've been doing this with like Wolves, Eldari, Sisters, whatever else. When I'm not feeling hyper familiar, I will do this. I'll turn on Stat Helper, select a unit, and then go show weapon stats. This is absolutely amazing. It lays out everything nice and succinctly, the units, the count that you've got, whatever. So we're going to lay 24 attacks into our opponent. You know what? We're going to use some green dice because Kroot, right? All right, so hitting on 2s. Get rid of those. Sustain hits. Beautiful. We get 22 hits. Then we've got strength 6. And let's assume no +1 to wound. We're going into like a Terminator body that's got T6. So we're winning on 4s. Cool. 7 saves. We don't have any extra AP on this. So boom, we bludgeon to death. That is 2 damage, 1.5 Terminators dead. And then we've got 18. I probably shouldn't have gone for Terminators. You really need AP to deal with them efficiently, but whatever. Then get rid of those. This is the Hunting Blades. And then it'll be 4s again because +1 to wound. Beautiful. And then you kill off the other Terminator. So this unit has killed 2 Terminators and locked them in combat, and that is not a good unit for them to go into. I want to make that perfectly clear. We just did that into a non-desirable target. Now, if we were to go into something like, let's say we jam into like a unit of World Eater Berserks, because Berserkers are everywhere right now, and I was watching John from Tau Tactics do this on stream, and it looked really fucking good. So, again, boom, sustain hits. Now we're going to be winning on 3s. Get rid of those. He's got 15 saves to make. He's saving on 4s. Man, I made some saves there. So that's 5 Berserkers dead immediately. And not including the mortal wounds, by the way. And then we've got the Hunting Blades. Cool, get rid of the ones. And then we're winning on 3s again. Actually, no, sorry. We're winning on, 3s, because it'll be 4s and then +1 to wound. Then he's got those, and ooh, okay. So then it kills, we killed 7.5 in the fight phase, and then however many on the mortal wounds on the charge. That from a single unit, one unit. What is that black hole spiral thing on there for? That is the void. Automatically deletes things. Really good way if you can't, for whatever reason, reach up to your delete key, or it's just easier for you to drag over there. You just go, cool, fuck you, bang, done. This has so many features. I would very, very highly recommend it. For anybody that is interested, it's this one. Hoodpa 40k, competitive 10th edition map base. You can get this just in the Steam Workshop. It is really, really good. Okay, so... And bear in mind, and we have always been an army that does combined arms. We don't just one-bang shit. Even in the shooting phase, it's very rare for us to one-bang something. But you put a Fire Knife squad into that Berserker unit, and yeah, they might get to Surge, but we just stay outside of Surge range. It's really easy to do. And then you go in with them, you full kill that 20-man in a turn. You're no longer like, oh shit, if I don't kill this in the shooting phase, I'm fucked. You're like, okay, cool. I shoot at you and then I get to fight. That's why this unit is so good. And even better when we look in context of the Kroot hunting pack. And I didn't do that with rerolls to hit, and I didn't do it with +1 to wound. That was just base unit. No stratagem support, nothing. That was just base unit. Then we've got enhancements. Each of these go to an individual shaper, and then one, which is the Kroot Hawk Flock, can go to just any Kroot character. So Flesh Shaper, while the bearer is leading unit, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, crits on 5s. Really nice, and we'll go into why a little bit later. Nomadic Hunter, Trail Shaper, while the bearer is leading unit, add 3 to movement characteristic and gain assault. This is nice. It's probably the least used one, in my opinion, just because it's a little expensive, especially when compared to the other ones. And then Root Carved Weapons, War Shaper. All weapons equipped by the bearer have precision and devastating wounds. This is good because of the war bow and tri-blade. Dart bow and tri-blade. Apologies. We have anti-infantry 3+, assault and heavy. D3 +1 shots, damage 2. If that damage 2 turns into devastating wounds, that is a lot of fucking damage from one little Kroot character that costs 50 points. Really, really good. I love this little combo. I don't get to run it nearly as much as I would like, but precision and devastating wounds onto a character, you just being able to shoot out a character, especially in like matchups like Orcs, where their characters do so much heavy lifting for them. If you've got particular builds of like CSM, even Space Marines, being able to get rid of the characters that lead units can sometimes just hamstring the fuck out of them. Really, really good. And you're on 3s to wound, you're doing this. If you got +1 to hit because they're below starting strength, all the better. Really, really great. Love that. Join the Hunt. This was nerfed, and so it's a little bit of a feels bad, but it's still good. Any phase, just after a Kroot Infantry or Kroot Hounds unit from your army was destroyed, place a new unit identical into strategic reserves. Stratagem cannot be used to return destroyed character units to attached units. You can only use the stratagem once per battle. So this one's pretty bad now that you can only do it once per battle. And no, the War Shaper can't do it to replace the unit as it dies for -1 CP. That was FAQ'd out, which it absolutely makes sense. I'm sad that it works that way, but is what it is. So yeah, this one, you will use this once per battle, and you've got to be very tactical with when you use it. But yeah. Trap well laid. You're shooting or fight phase. Kroot army that has not been selected to shoot or fight this phase. After this unit resolves its attack this phase, select one enemy unit hit by one or more of those attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time a Kroot model from your army makes an attack, unless the attacking unit is battle shocked, improve the armor penetration by 1. This is the stratagem that you use when you want to get Terminators to saving on 4s. You just send in like a lone character, a lone spear that activates first. Be careful of them being able to interrupt for 2 CP. But if they can't do it, it's really, really great. Or just like string out a big Kroot unit, have one guy go, or 2 guys for efficiency's sake, go into the Terminators. All they have to do is just hit. Doesn't matter if it wounds, doesn't matter if it does damage. Then your Rampages get full improved armor penetration of AP2. It is really good. EMP grenades, an undersung stratagem. Your shooting phase or fight phase, just after an enemy vehicle unit is selected to shoot or fight. I'm just going to take a quick drink because my mouth is dry as fuck. Is there ever use for a Kroot Talks Rider? Abso-fucking-lutely. I'll remind me after I finish my roll of the stratagems, and we'll talk about that. 1 Kroot Grenades unit from your army within 8 inches of that enemy vehicle. Who is that? Basically everyone. Like, it's not the characters, but Carnivores, Fastalkers, Rampages, and Riders. Basically, the only Kroot unit that doesn't have it is the characters and Kroot Hounds. That's it. But that will make up most of your army. Vehicle unit, there's a lot like that in the game. Knights especially hate this one trick. Until the end of the phase, worsen weapon skill and ballistic skill of that vehicle by 1. Note that because this is a shooting or fight phase and stratagems are phase locked, you can do this to them in the shooting phase. Then when they charge, you do this to them again in the fight phase. It really drops a lot of army's efficiency. It really, really does. Grizzly Feast, this one's, fight phase. Kroot army destroyed one or more enemy units this phase. In your opponent's next command phase, each enemy unit within 6 must take a battle shock test. If the unit taking that test is below half strength, subtract 1 from the test. Enemy units affected by this do not need to take any other battle shock tests in the same phase. This is great on rampages slamming into somebody, or like a big juiced out Kroot carnivore brick, but it doesn't come up as much as you would like. You're going to spend for things like Trap Well Laid and a few of the other things that we're going to get into. Namely, Guerrilla Warriors. Your movement phase just after a Kroot unit from your army falls back, that Kroot unit is eligible to shoot and charge. Again, rampages, really fucking fantastic for this. Step back 1 inch, slam back into them, mortals on the charge, and you've got your charge bonus. Really, really nice, but it's also good for positioning on like Krootox riders with the functionally a missile pod strapped to the top of a gorilla, or even just like Kroot carnivores being able to reposition, shoot, and then charge into something else. It is very useful. There is never a case somebody can make to me that fallback shoot and charge is bad. And then we've got Hidden Hunters. This is one of the best defensive layers for your big Kroot units, be it 20-mans, be it the rampages, whatever. Your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit is selected as targets. One Kroot unit from your army selected as the target of one of those attacks. To the end of the phase, Lone Op 18. Now, I've spoken a little bit about Lone Op 18 in context of my experimental prototype Carter Immortal Tower list. Why this is so good is that you can deterministically make it so your opponent never actually forces you to spend the CP on this. Now, what do I mean? Let's have a look at our board here. If I, in the course of my positioning, don't give my opponent anything but 1 target. So let's just, Space Wolves is a little bit of a bad example, but let's just pretend they're shooting Marines. Just for the sake of this example. I grab my rampages here and I position in a way where I have measured out that only one of my opponent's units with good guns is going to be able to get within 18. Stand wholly within there, he'd be able to shoot me, or potentially I just stand slightly back from it and go, okay, I've stickied this with Kroot carnivores. Let's say I stand away from it and I don't give it, because there is an argument for baiting shooting if only one unit can get in, but we'll touch on that in a sec. So I've measured that wholly within here, they will be just outside of 18. So if they want to shoot me, they have to come forward. My opponent goes, oh, you got a bunch of scary like hammerheads, sky rays, whatever else. I don't know if I want to do that. A lot of the time, if your opponent can't get within that 18, they just won't go for it. If I've got a unit that comes in all the way over here in like a strategic reserve or whatever, and we've got shooting units up here that just can't get within that 18 with their movement, they would be able to declare into them, but if they've got to expose something to be able to get that shooting line. And actually a great example is being over here. And I've got like hammerhead, sky ray, I've got a bunch of shooting platforms that can see back. Yeah, they could probably get within that 18, but then they're staring at this and that's like there's invuln saves, there's whatever. It makes decision-making for your opponent harder and they just don't go for the play. And I had this in a bunch of the games that I had on EPC, that because I had one crisis unit, and this is where you don't want to put like all of your shit out in the open and give them a bunch of targets, because then they will just go, all right, I'm going to force you to spend it there and then I'm going to shoot over here. So you don't present multiple targets. You do this when you can be hyper conservative with it, or if it'll remove a set of extra guns behind and they've got one unit that can target you. Fine. Absolutely fine. I found people just didn't go for the crisis unit because I was just going to block it out anyway. So they put their attention elsewhere on the board. And that is actually a really powerful bit of psychology, that your opponent decides without you spending any CP that you're going to spend that CP, and then they'll be standing out in the open and then they'll get shot up. So I'm not going to do it. Actually really, really good. Really, really good. Now, obviously not every opponent's going to do that. And I'm not going to pretend like every opponent will do that, but it came up more than I expected, if I'm honest. So really, really good. Now, let's talk about positives, negatives. Kroot Hunting Pack is really good if you love Kroot, if you love a very horde, move blocking, jailing style of list, or you love the idea of a billion gorillas that are almost impossible to kill, charging down your opponent's throat, blowing up everything, and having a bunch of efficient tanks behind them. I love Kroot Hunting Pack. I actually think this is one of our more competitive detachments at the moment. It's just underplayed because like the Kroot aren't for everybody, or a lot of people won't even own the models to be able to do it. In Oxcad, you can have up to 7 true lone op marksman, Ghost Kill, Shadow Sun, then a bunch of 18 lone op Ox units. Yeah, it's fucking amazing. It is absolutely incredible. Finally, I catch a live. Also found out I'm going to join the Dad Club pretty soon. Any of my fucking subs in Twitch, get some fucking rails in the chat for Tony. Congratulations on finding out you're going to have a kid. As somebody who has the most perfect little boy in the world, I am elated for you, dude. That is amazing news. Congratulations. That is incredible. Is there ever use for a Krootox rider? Tons of them. Tons and tons and tons and tons and tons. Krootox riders in 2-mans might be the most points efficient unit that we have in our book. And no, that is not hyperbole. Now, they won't appear in every list. And, you know, something can be hyper efficient and still not fit. But the reason why these guys are so good is in terms of early trading pieces. Like, yeah, the gun's good. That's great. But the real power for the Krootox riders. Let's have a look at the data sheet. 7-inch move, grenades keyword, T6, 5-up save and a 5-up invul in Kroot Hunting Pack, 5 wounds, so 10 wounds in this unit, a missile pod that within 18 gets rapid fire 2. Kroot Hunting Pack gets +1 to hit, +1 to wound conditionally, and can potentially get full rerolls to hit from the Lone Spear. Pack mates shoot back when a friendly Kroot infantry unit gets shot at, and importantly, Scout 7, which means that from my deployment, I can set a unit here, set a unit here. I can have a unit that, you know, is potentially like, I can set him up here. Why are you being weird? Set him up here and set him up here. And if I go first, move up to join them. And if I don't, move back to safety. There is so much this unit can do. And then we look in terms of trading patterns. This, by the way, this here, these little guys here. Fuck, I didn't change the thing. I'm sorry. Yes, I see it. I'm sorry. You know what? I've gone for a whole stream without doing that. That is pretty fucking good. Anyway, this little package right here, 60 points. 60 points to do this. I'll do it again because someone, Beal, didn't tell me that I was on the right screen. Beal. It's his fault. Blame Beal. Scout move up to here. Even if I'm going second. This is such a deceptively safe position on the board because to see me, he actually has to get around this corner. He has to get forward of here, which plays into Rampage's slamming him. And then these guys can come up and join here. And then when I'm on an objective, to remove 60 points and 4 OC? Yeah, 4 OC. They have to get through 10 wounds at T6 and a 5-up invul. If you've never had to get through those without like premier weapons that want to be targeting something else, like this unit is actually surprisingly hard to get rid of. And you can loan up 18 it. Krootox riders, in my opinion, are some of the most underused units in the book, and they shouldn't be in every list. That's not good internal balance if one unit is in every fucking list. But they are really good. Even outside of, like, I have had these guys in Kauyon lists that I've written. I've had these guys in, like, Retaliation Cadre lists, because then I've got good, durable pieces that, yeah, they've only got a 5-up save. But they're T6 and 10 wounds to get through. Like, 60 points! Anyway, I'll stop sucking their dick. Krootox riders are amazing. And if anybody tells you different, they're a fucking idiot. All right, so He forgot. He did forget. Bill forgot. That little Bill. Oh, gee whiz. I can't tell you things if you mute me on Discord when you stream. That's true. That's true. That's very, very true. But also, skill issue? All right. Before I move on, are there any questions from Kroot Hunting Pack? And now we'll be leaving the Codex and we'll be going to our Grotmas and post-Grotmas detachment. Give everybody a little bit of time. Okay, I smell what you're putting out there, Sensei. Or I don't know if Sensei is the title. Would it be Supreme Commander of the Tau? Probably, right? Would I be Supreme Commander? I think so. Should I just take that title by force? Yeah, why not? Why not? Yeah. Supreme Commander. Did I get a number of carnivores? I got distracted. As in a number of carnivores. What the fuck is an Oshi? What is that? I assume it's something derogatory, Beal. You asshole. So when you say number of carnivores, Loopy, what are you talking about? Is in like the number of units to include or unit sizing? Did I miss a message? I might have. Moody really fucking spammed to get it on track. So Loopy, and I'll actually say this because I saw you 45 points in OC. I actually think their efficiency goes up quite a bit when you put them in a two-man. For the sake of the extra 15 points to get that extra 5 wounds on a T6 body, I think is really, really efficient. I really, really love it. It's a VTuber thing. Oh, don't you fucking dare. Don't you fucking dare. I'll tube your V. Asked about a minimum earlier. Let me see if I can find a bud. How many carnivores minimum for KHP? I don't believe there's a minimum. I think that there are a number of KHP lists that function very, very well. At the least, I would say that you will include 2 10-mans at a bare minimum. Even when you're going for like the fucking gorilla spam, I think that 2 units, sticky objectives, good screening bodies, early trading, all that sort of stuff, I think carnivores are amazing. And I've said this before, I actually think Kroot carnivores are the GOAT of the Tau Codex. Not even trying to like gaslight anybody. I genuinely believe they are one of the best units in terms of efficiency, their utility, and the fact that they appear in every list really, really highlights how good they are. Stephen Phelan made a really good point that Vespid could also take that title, and I do not disagree. They are incredible for secondary play and their utility, but my Kroot carnivores, even though their little fucking hooky weapons get caught on each other and they're a bitch to move, I can't be mad at them. Like, they're my boys. They really are. I only own 60. I think you'll be fine. 3 20-mans is still pretty fucking good. I hate the Jays made me love Vespid. You're fucking welcome. You are absolutely welcome. That is why I am the Supreme Commander. All right, let's move on. And talking about Supreme Commanders, the Supreme Detachment, in my opinion. Oxcad is, in my opinion, the most competitive detachment that Tau has access to. Now, I said at the start of the stream, 1, I believe every detachment is competitive. Unironically, and not trying to gaslight again. If you put the time into any of our detachments, you will be able to get results. And in my opinion and experience, most people fall apart from their decisions at the table, not their detachment or their list. Sure, there are some lists that can be refined, get a lot more output out of them, start seeing a big uptick, but failure for Tau Empire specifically, and I would even argue most of the game for other armies, comes down to personal choices, understanding of the game, and your own personal skill. And secondly, just because I say this doesn't mean that I'm shitting on anybody who really loves like Retcad or whatever else. We're all adults. We get to do whatever the fuck we want. If you like something, that is the correct thing to play. And if anybody tells you otherwise, let me know and I'll send someone to fucking beat the shit out of them. And I'll tell them that I am their dad, even though I'm not yours. Anyway, detachment rule. This thing is amazing. Kroot and Vespid units from your army have the following ability. While an enemy unit is within 9 and visible, each time a ranged attack made by a friendly Tau Empire model excluding Kroot, Vespid, and Titanic targets that enemy unit and improve AP by 1. GW, oh my fucking god, if I get anything out of the data slate, Remove this restriction. Remove it. Storm Surgeon Towner should be able to get additional 1 AP. If you don't want the Towner to be doing it, fine. Put Towner models. But the Storm Surge doesn't fucking deserve that. It does not deserve it. This is a perfect detachment for Storm Surges. Okay, I'm going to yap a little bit here, so just stay with me. One of the big problems that you need to solve when you take something like a single Storm Surge or double Storm Surge, or if you're a Giga Chad, you take triple Storm Surge, is that you have just eaten up 800 to 1200 points of your army. And I really hope they bring the price down. There are other units that I look at from other armies, and I cannot believe how cheap their big stuff is. However, if you want to make it work, the rest of your army has to play utility, scoring, trading pieces. You have committed so many points that you need to have cheap stuff running around. If I've got Kroot and Vespid giving them AP, and I've often argued that the main problem with the Storm Surge is that all of their weapons are AP 0 and they need AP 1. If I can then take that to AP 1 or AP 2, depending on what changes happen or don't happen, that unit becomes so much more viable without breaking the game and without taking over everything. It actually gives us a reason why the Storm Surge might be a choice that we take. Not a choice we do all the time, not something which is broken, but something which becomes a viable unit. And a style of play for us to want to opt into, because it's not for everybody. It's really not. Please, GW, remove the Titanic restriction, or just make it so that the Manta and the Towner can't get it. Whatever. Second part of the detachment rule. Tower Empire units excluding Kroot and Vespid. The following ability: an aura while a friendly Kroot or Vespid unit wholly within 6 and visible to this unit. That Kroot or Vespid stinglings can only be selected as a target of ranged attack if the attacking model is within 18. Having army-wide lone op and army-wide additional AP on the right units, so I'll say conditionally, has been such a joy to play with after the army rule change. Now, I fully see where some people go, it's a little bit too much cognitive load. I'm learning the game. I'm trying to make other decisions, whatever. I fully get that. One of the big things that I tell a lot of people that I'm coaching is that we want to get you to the point where remembering your rules and remembering the core rules are so reflexively easy that it doesn't take any cognitive load, and the only thing that you're thinking about is tactical decision making. That will make your game so much better. So I want you to know by heart your stratagems, your rules, your datasheet abilities, your terrain rules, your whatever. Adding on this as an extra cognitive layer until you get familiar with it, excuse me, is a consideration. And I will never say that somebody is wrong for not wanting to add that. And that is my voice going. Put a pin in that. I haven't taken a break in 2 hours, so stay with me. We'll take a short break. I'll be back very, very soon. I'll check in with Mally and Chelly. They're out at the moment. I'll make sure they're okay. I will be back in, give me 2 minutes just to get a drink of water, clear my throat, and everything else. If you have questions, now is a great time to put them in the chat, and I will catch up with them. Beal, entertain the people. Ladies and gentlemen, all stand for the Supreme Commander of the Tau Empire. I'm sorry, that was terrible. Thank you, everybody. I really did need, and we made sure that we watered up pretty fucking hard. I think you just forgot the music. You know what? I really should get BRB music. We have intro music. We have outro music. Fuck. I'll have to look it up. Lord has to redeem the planet broke. Oh, the planet broke before the god did. Oh. Do you know, honestly, now that, like, I've been streaming with Charles all that much, we actually could make that as a little sneaky poke at Mordian. Because I'm sure, being a Guard fan, if I said that around him, he would surely cream his jorts, right? Like every Guard fan does. All right. What the fuck was I talking about before I left? Somebody remind me what random rant was on. I want Charles back too. I miss him. I will. Kroot? No. Well, anyway, let's keep going with the thing. It might come back to me. All right, so student of Kauyon, 15 points. Declare battle formation step. Select up to 3 Kroot carnivores or Kroot Farstalkers units from your army. Models of those units have deep strike. This is probably the least used one that I've got. It's not uninteresting or unusable. I just haven't built heavily for Farstalkers and Kroot carnivores to make use of this deep strike ability. And it also requires that you include a Kroot Shaper, which means you can't do a Lone Spear, and Shapers are not something I tend to include in Auxiliary Cadre because you're having to have a good split between your auxiliaries and your main Tau force, which is actually going to do your damage. So this one tends to stay at home. Admired Leader, this is the enhancement for this detachment. Tau Empire model, excluding Kroot models. In your command phase, select 1 Kroot or Vespid unit within 12 of the bearer. If you do until the start of your next command phase, improve leadership by 1. And while it's not battle shocked, add 1 to the objective control characteristic of models in that unit. Why this is so good is that it turns your Kroot Hounds, which normally OC0 without a Kroot character specifically, into little action monkeys. It allows you to get multi-value out of them where they'll scout move out, stay within 12 of the character, get the buff, and then sprint out, move block, get the extra AP for all of your Tau units, and then potentially do an action. All with a 40 or 50 point unit. It is supreme efficiency. And then later on, your Vespid having to do stuff. Mushu, you did not just drag your tongue between my toes. Oh my God, I hate it. Mushu Lee, what are you doing? Can you come up on your table? Come up on your table. Do you want to say hi to the stream, do you? Come on. Have a come. Come on. Hey, little boy. All right, everybody, Mushu wants to say hi. And we know that the second best streamer in the house has to have his moment. Yeah, hi, little man. You want to say hi to everyone? He's been having a big day of sleeping out the front, getting all toasty warm. Hestia, thank you for joining us, bud. Good to have you. All right. So, and then later in the game, Kroot Carnivore unit, Farstalker unit, whatever, taking a Kroot Carnivore unit, and I said this during Mont'ka, taking them to 3 OC per model, if you've been trading or whatever, and a couple of Kroot Carnivores live, and you're worried about their battle shock, you're worried about whatever, and it's in your command phase. Remember that battle shocks happen at the end of the command phase before you determine control of objectives. You then put them to leadership 6. And then 3 models is 9 OC. 9 OC on 3 fucking models. This has had some massive outplay potential and has really helped win games. Really helped win games. Fanatical Convert, 10 points. Very simple. Kroot model, bearers for the greater good ability. They can guide and be guided. Now, I had a video when Oxcade came out sort of talking about how to use this and the Lone Spear with his move, shoot, move and whatever. Being able to guide for him so that he can hit a little better to get the rerolls onto a key target. All that sort of stuff. I stand by everything I said there. This is a great enhancement for, I've got 10 points left over. I've taken a Lone Spear. It's useless if you don't take a Lone Spear because like I said, the other Shapers aren't the best in Oxcad. But if you've taken one, you got the extra 10 points left over. It is fantastic. Fantastic. Now, transponder lock module. Tau Empire Walker model with Deep Strike. They should just say Commander. I don't know why. Anyway, Bearer's unit can be set up using Deep Strike ability in the reinforcement set for first, second, or third movement phase, regardless of any mission rules. During your first movement phase, when you set up the Bearer's unit, must be set up within 12 of one or more Kroot or Vespid units and not within 9 horizontally of one or more enemy units. Now, that seems like a lot of restrictions. This has been incredibly easy for me to do. Unfortunately, when it came out, we're in a bit more of an aggressive meta where early trading patterns were very, very, very useful to be playing into. We then went into a very end of game favoring person who goes second style of play. So this really hasn't seen any value. The second we swap back to any sort of aggressive meta or alpha strike meta, this is going to be absolutely fucking disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. At the moment, you don't see it too much, but it's good if you've got people that you're playing against, suffer from aggressive plays. But yeah, then let's go into the stratagems, and oh boy, do we have some fucking doozies here. Shooting on fight phase, Kroot Vespid unit, additional AP. And you can tell this is Grotmus after GW learned a lot of their shit. No extra restrictions, no hoops to jump through, just Kroot Vespid, additional AP. This on rampages is fucking incredible for their melee. Oh my God. Oh, it just, yeah. Great CP to hold for. Pheromone waypoints. Movement phase, Kroot Vespid, auto advance 6. Really good because the one below it, alien expertise, movement phase, 1 Tau Empire unit from your army can advance and shoot. That is anything of yours. That is Riptides. That is Hammerheads. That's whatever. 1 CP, advance and shoot. If it's Kroot or Vespid, it also is eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which it advances. Make sure you remember to spend this in your movement phase, not in the charge phase, because that is way too late. But if you've got 2 CP, auto advance 6 and advance and charge is sometimes all you need to get a rampage unit into a position where your opponent is about to have a real fucking bad day. Real bad day. Multi-sensory scanning. Shooting or fight phase, Tau Empire unit that has not been selected to shoot or fight. Until the end of the phase, each time model in your unit makes an attack, reroll a wound roll of 1. If it is a Kroot or Vespid Stingwings unit, you can reroll the wound instead. So this is really nice if you don't want to run stealth suits, but you still want to have the reroll 1s to wound, 1 CP, able to do that. Kroot and Vespid, especially rampages again, I know I keep blazing them, but they're fucking good. Full rerolls to wound on them is incredible. So if you don't need the movement to get them into combat, and you can use either this one or this one, that is efficiency out the fucking ass. And the good thing is there's only 2 of them that are locked to only Kroot and Vespid. Then the other 2 can be used by Tau Empire, just get better with Kroot or Vespid units. Guided fire, shooting phase, 1 Tau Empire unit from your army, not been selected to shoot this phase. Give it +1 strength. If it's wholly within 9 inches of 1 or more Kroot or Vespid units, and very easy to do, add 2 to the strength of your ranged weapons. This is absolutely awesome, especially with Riptides going up to strength 10. You then put them to strength 12, which means that things like, Avatar of Cain, which is T11, you bypass one of its major defensive mechanics, which is its toughness. Or just take things like, flamers or missile pods or hell breaches with strength 8 on this. Really, really good. Really, really good. So excellent stratagem. And then we get to the creme de la creme. This, in my opinion, the other stratagems that I was talking about before, I said was the best in the Codex. This is the best stratagem we have access to by far, by none. If I were to design my own stratagem, this would be the first thing I'd jam in. No, not exaggerating. That's not hyperbole. This would be the first thing I put in. End of the fight phase, 1 Tau Empire unit that was eligible to fight this phase. That is a unit that's had an activation in combat or made a charge move and got a charge bonus. Even if rampages go in and kill with mortals on the charge, they are still eligible to do this. If your unit is not within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units, it can make a normal move of 6 inches. Otherwise, your unit can make a fallback move. It cannot embark within a transport at the end of this move if it disembarked from a transport to this turn. Now, that might look very, very humble to you. That would be a misnomer, though. This thing, if I go to TTS, I cannot tell you the number of times I have had my opponent, after I've had, like, you know, let's say I've got a little unit of infantry. Where did my Pathfinders go? Did I delete them for a meme? I might have. Let's grab the Firestalkers. So I've done a little bit of screening, a little bit of whatever. My Hammerhead's here. Firestalkers get killed, and my opponent's like, "Yep, cool." And now I'm going to tag your Hammerhead in combat, which means if you want to take the objective, you have to fall back. And I'm like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" He's like, "Yes." I'm like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" He's like, "Yes." So he comes in here. He's already activated, so he can't fight, or even if he does fight and I live on a couple of wounds. He's told me he's happy to do it. I go, cool, interlocking maneuvers. I move over here. I take this objective. If he had like a 1 OC or 2 OC thing on there, or if he has nothing on there, whatever, I now take this. I score this primary at the start of my next turn, and this unit is free to then move and do what I need to get angles and shoot and do whatever. Or it functionally act like you should read this as fall back and shoot and fall back and charge. Because if my rampages go in and they, like, let's say I get first activation and he's got like one guy that lives. My guys are here and he's got other units that are back here ready to charge. He's like, cool, one guy lived, you're trapped here. And I'm like, yeah, no, you'd think that. But now I activate interlocking maneuvers. Go back here. Let's actually just grab everybody, do this quick. It won't be pinpoint, but you know what I'm going for. And now that unit that was back here, so it's another head taker unit, that was going to have a, let's say a little bit further back, or they're in the impulsor. Let's say in the impulsor. And they were like, yep, I'm going to be able to charge you next turn. They get out 3, and then they move 7, and now they've got a 9-inch charge, basically a deep strike charge, where before they were about to have a 3-inch charge. That is the power of this. And if they move here and hang out, I can auto advance to get on top of them. Even if they're like, okay, I'm going to stage and I'm going to stay here. Well, okay, that's cool and everything, but I'm just going to auto advance. This guy would probably try and like move in and do something, but whatever. I am going to advance, even if I have to move around him. Doesn't matter. Auto advance 6 and advance and charge. I'm there. I have a 1-inch charge to get onto him, where he had a 9-inch charge into me. That is just unfair levels of uninteractivity. It is so good. Now, one thing I will say, and this is one of the big downsides of OxCAD, aside from the extra cognitive load that comes from integrated command structure, what separates the men from the boys and the women from the girls and the other from the other is that your CP economy and how you spend will make the difference between whether you succeed and whether you fail. If you throw away your CP in a stupid, can I finish? Stupid command reroll. Or stratagem that you didn't need to spend for, then you will lose. Because this has, and this is why I glaze this detachment so well, unlike what the detachment we're about to speak about, this has excellently structured and written rules from its detachment rule, its enhancements, and its stratagems. All of its power does not come from one specific place. It comes from a bunch of different places, which means that because there are so many moving parts, it's actually a little bit less punishing than people give it credit for. But because it's Tau and we die super easily, most mistakes that people make are like positioning and movement stuff, which doesn't matter what you're on, you're going to get punished for that. But it feels worse because you're attributing a number of your points into non-shooting units. The upsides of this detachment is a fucking banger. I said it when Oxcad first came out, and I was proven right when, after everybody was naysaying, most competitive players started getting results on Oxcad. And then our army rule changed, and it opened up a bunch of our other detachments to really, really shine, which was fantastic. But I actually think Oxcad got even better with that. Oxcad is my absolute favorite. If you are looking to play Tau at a high level and you do not know how to play this, you don't have a lot of experience, my opinion, fucking start. Start as soon as you can. Are there any questions from the floor? I will give you guys an opportunity to get them in, and we will move on to our last detachment, Experimental Prototype Carter. I could happily throw 4 CP at a brick of rampages in a single turn. You could. You definitely could. If it wasn't a big scary death ball that you were killing and cut the head off the snake, you would then lose, but you definitely could. And that's where I was saying that, like, your CP economy is so important in this detachment because every single stratagem has a use and a place. It has something that you can see yourself using that. Like, look at when we were looking at Mont'ka. How many stratagems really did I go through where I was like, it's fine, it's okay, whatever. Like, you know, maybe there's a niche for it, but probably don't spend for it and just go with these 3. And most of the detachments we've gone through from the Codex had something like that. Have you tried Crusade at all with Tau? So we are running a Crusade at the moment. We've been on a little bit of a break, but we're about to pick it back up again for the Pantheon tier for my patrons. Just a little special value add for them. I didn't go on Tau because naturally my Patreon has a bunch of Tau players, and I wanted to make sure that other people had the opportunity to play an army that I've played to death. So I was playing Space Wolves, but I do know from the guys that are playing Tau, there's a lot of really cool shit in Crusade that they can do, and the progress mechanic is really, really fun, really good to engage with. So I would highly recommend it. Do you think Victrix will be dead or nerfed hard next slate? It really depends on whether GW sold enough of them. I think that they will copper toning down. I don't think they'll be dead. It's my estimation that they'll cop a slap on the wrist, and then in the next slate, that's when they'll get kneecapped. We used to be more cognitive load with the old guiding mechanic. 100%. It has gotten so much better in terms of usability. And, you know, if cognitive load isn't a problem for you, this detachment was already amazing. It just got better, which is really cool. I bought 3 boxes on release, so yeah, they'll still be great. That's the thing that okay, I will talk for myself. When I specifically talk about a unit being, you know, taken out back and shot or being kneecapped, I'm talking from a perspective of, like, I'm planning to go to a GT and I'm not worried about the first few rounds. I'm worried about the last rounds where I'm going up against some of the best players in my area or even in Australia. I need to play outside of my mind, and I need to have a list which is so fucking dialed in that there is not a single thing that I think I can change to do better. That is when I don't look at units that I believe have been too heavily nerfed or whatever, because I am, like, playing at the top end of competitive is power gaming. It is, if something is 1% better, you will likely take that 1%. But for most players, I would argue for 99% of players in the game, 40k has never been this balanced. You can take almost anything you want, and you will still be able to beat other players, because 40k is not a game of the best list wins. 40k is a game of you made more mistakes, I made less, I capitalized on more of your mistakes, therefore I won. Or in some situations, and people blame their dice way more than they should, there are some games where the dice just fucking betray you. You didn't do anything wrong, and you should do the same things again over and over because they were correct, but you just got unlucky this time. That's just the nature of a dice game. All my losses, and there are many of them, are all down to me not thinking my movement through properly. Yeah, and that's the skill cap with Tau. I've actually had to... one of the guys that I was coaching the other day, coming over from Tyranids, and I had to warn him in advance. I'm like, you know, just be aware you're going into an army that is a real glass cannon. Like, once you get good at it, it is so fucking good. Like I have a 90% go first win rate and an 85% go second win rate. So when you know what you're doing, you will blast. When you don't, when you're finding your feet, when you're still getting all of your mistakes out, when you're whatever, it is a punishing experience. You have to go through a trial by fire, and you have to make sure that you learn and learn quickly and not repeat the same mistakes. But, you know, like there are people that is their playstyle. We call them Tau players. And I would argue probably Eldari as well, because you're not durable. You're not going to stay on the table for fucking ever. You rely on your tricks or your damage output or whatever else, and that's a great way to play if it's your thing. But you know, make sure that you're opting into that. And he's even pretty happy with it. But like, you know, can you imagine a Custodes player or like a fucking Dark Angels player coming over to Tau and being like, "Where's my invulns? Where's my feel no pains? Why doesn't every unit have a 4-up feel no pain? What the fuck?" Yeah, I'm the guy that can afford the major over-tuned 3K admech list. Holy shit. 3K money, not points. Yeah, I knew what you meant. Dude is still going 2 hours later. Love it. Yeah, fucking oath. We're almost at the end of it, but I have taken a 2-minute break in 2 hours of streaming. Well, 2 hours and 15 minutes. But yeah. If anybody ever wants to argue that I don't love Tau in the community, then point them to the stream and tell them to get fucked. J-Dice curses hit me and I hate him for it. Well, you know the curse jumps if you fuck with the person with the curse. It's because of you fucking with me every chance you get. It jumped to you. And I've actually been having better dice recently, so I think you've taken it off me. Second question, Stealth Suits didn't lose their reroll ability when guiding, or did I miss something? No, they didn't lose it. They just went up to a 5-man unit, lost, fall back and shoot. That's whatever. Stealth Suits, and like, you know, I had my video. You can take it back. No, I'm going to be super nice to you. Stealth suits, we are still going to take them. I have still written lists that have stealth suits in them. In my opinion, if you take Riptides, you take stealth suits. Unless you're going for like, you know, Oxcad where you can get reroll 1s to wound. Or Mont'ka where you've got reroll hits. We're still going to take them in certain scenarios. Once everybody has their crash out, and I had mine, I was angry, I was upset, 100%. I don't like it when GW does big, dumb, stupid, little piss boy things. But you adjust, you get used to the new meta, and you'll still take them because the ability is really, really good. You just have to have 110 or 220 points in your list to dedicate to them, which is like, it's still not a mistake as long as the list is built for that efficiency. Looking to join the greater good, is there a good list to start with? That one, and it was the prompt for doing the stream, really depends on what you enjoy. I will say there is a list, and hopefully he doesn't mind me sharing. But the list I built for one of my coachees today, at 1,000 point level, because if you're starting out, a lot of people start at 1,000 points, and I did give him a build into 2,000 points. I'll recommend Mont'ka, and I will recommend now, I'll import the list that I built for him, because I gave him the 2,000 point adjust. Let's go that one. All right, so this is the list that I would recommend. Mont'ka, Fireblade, Enforcer with Exemplar of the Mont'ka, Cyclic, Triple Missile Pod. Breacher, Kroot Carnivore, Pathfinder, Vespid, Broadside, Fire Knife, Hammerhead, Riptide. Gives you a little bit of everything, gives you some efficiency, gives you some guiding, and will kill almost anything in the goddamn game. It is tuned a little bit more to damage. You could take out, like, say, the Broadside unit, put in a Pathfinder unit if you take out Exemplar of the Mont'ka, just have another one. But yeah, that'll serve you particularly well. I'll put that as a WTC compact thing, and then let's get that into the chats, hopefully. Nope, that has a character limit, so we will have to do... Fuck, how do we do that? It's probably like a Dropbox thing, right? Oh, paste bin. Paste bin... Once this actually loads. Okay. Don't want tags, don't want whatever. No password. 1,000 point Tau starter list. Nothing else I need to tick. No, okay. Create new paste. Verifying that I'm human. Listed. Now. That's not the one I want. Let's go back. Okay, now how the fuck do I share this? Because I haven't had to actually do this before. Raw? Do I raw dog it? No. Or do I just share this? I think I just share this. There you go. There you go, Twitch. There you go, YouTube. There is a starter list that I can highly recommend for getting into Tau. A lot of people get wrapped up about their list or their detachment or whatever. In my opinion, pick something and play it to death, learning the core rules, the terrain rules, how to position, how to trade, how to move. That is way more important than anything else. If you get that right, you could take a steaming bag of shit, put it on the table, and probably get a win out of it. Was he taking on Cold Star with Flamers with a unit of Flamers taking coordinated exploitation? It's a lot of points. I spoke about this a little bit before talking about Mont'ka and Kauyon. I think, honestly, it's fine. I just find better uses for those points. Having said that, I haven't teched a list for that particular bit of tech. I think it's fine. I think if you build a list around it, it'll be good. And if you learn to play it and play accordingly, knowing that you've got that tech, it'll be fine. It's a little expensive for my taste. I will say again, from where I did before, just in case for some reason GW tunes into this part of my stream. Remove while the bearer is leading a unit and you fix this fucking enhancement. No one is taking it. Nobody likes it. Nobody's winning with it. Take out while the bearer is leading a unit. Let us use some of our other units. Like this with an ethereal, a lone ethereal, this with a fireside team. Just so much better. So much better. Don't make us use damage output units to guide with this because, let's be honest, we don't have a guiding leader that is able to take this. Outside of a very expensive ethereal strike team brick that I can use those points for literally anything else. I love the idea of it. I love that they took a swing with it. It just, it's not there. And they removed that and it's good. Use Legends 9 Riptides. Oh, fine. I've also been very burnt out. The stream game yesterday. Ah, damn. Sorry to hear it, Bill. In an all-comers list, I think one Flamers is worth considering. They don't need the Guide, Swarm, and Elves Hate Fire. So I actually, as part of that list, the upgrade to 2,000 points, double Fireblade Enforcer, double Breacher, Carnivore, double Pathfinder, one of them with a Grav Inhibitor, Broadside, Fire Knife, single Star Scythe unit with Flamers, Hammerhead, Triptide, double Devilfish. That's the direction I went. So, and I said to him that, the Star Scythe you can take out for something else, add in other bits and pieces, is very modular, but that was the most efficient way for me to use those 110 points. But yeah, that's a little starter list for you. And again, if anybody is interested in getting coaching, you're starting out with Tau. I coach a lot of people that are still learning the game, even up to people that are wanting to go to a GT and win out of their mind. Links in the description of YouTube. There are coaching packs for one-offs on my website. There are a bunch of different value options. If you want regular coaching, the high tiers of Patreon are the best way to do it. Also, the best way to support me and the stream. So, would you recommend the Immortal Tau list? Still fucking oath. Taking it to that event, getting a 4-1, and the only loss I got was against one of the best players there in the most soul-crushing game in terms of my dice betraying me that I've ever had, only reinforced that list is so fucking good. I cannot recommend it highly enough. It's, I've played with it, I've won with it, so now I'm starting to look at Oxcad or Retaliation Cadre or something, but that's for my own enjoyment and for content, not because it's a commentary on the list. The list is fucking great. I love it so much. You misspelled knife is there. The Immortal Tower list is new, no? Yeah, absolutely is. Absolutely is. I will still sit here standing Triptides with max rampages in Ox. That is the direction I'm kind of looking at going with my Ox card list. If people are interested in getting access to any of my lists whenever they want, Chasso tier and above get access to that. So have a look at the Patreon. All right, let's go into our last one. Speaking of Immortal Tower experimental prototype Carter, I want to say thank you to everybody who has joined us, who has been here for the majority of the stream. There's a lot of the same names that are kicking around, and we've been streaming to like near 30 people the entire time, which, you know, in terms of the Twitch landscape and YouTube landscape isn't a ton, but I've been on a break for quite a while. I'm not expecting to do like decent numbers. And I don't know if you guys know this, the second that you get to more than 2 viewers on Twitch or on YouTube, you are doing better than like 98% of the platform, which is like, I found really surprising, but also very validating. So thank you to everybody who's been joining us. If you want to get regular streams, make sure that you follow my Twitch. There's a bunch that I do just on there. And anybody that's in our Patreon gets access to the Discord. Notifications there go off like clockwork. So you will never miss a stream. Anyway, detachment all 6-inch extra range. It's good. I like it. There's a bunch of things that this comes up for. It's not like broken overpowered. It's not, you know, some massive game-changing rule like, you know, Oxcard's one, but it is very good. It is simple, it's elegant, it's fine. Enhancement, Supernova, Thermoneutronic, Plasma Accelerator, Fusion Blades, these make their respective weapons just better. In order of how good each of these are, Thermoneutronic is right at the top. This is the best thing that I put into the Immortal Tower list. This is an Overwatch threat, is absolutely fucking incredible. Cyber Owlet, thank you so much for the follow on Twitch. Appreciate it. So, Thermoneutronic is at the top. This is the best one. 100%. Fusion Blades and Supernova are both kind of hanging around each other. I would edge out Fusion Blades as number 2. This is a great fucking weapon. Supernova is also great, especially because it's out of line of sight. Gives a good strength. Put it on the right crisis unit, and this has the capacity to do a lot of damage. And damage 2 indirect is also very good. And then Plasma Accelerator, it's at number 4, but it doesn't mean it's shit. It just means that it's not, in my mind, as good as the others. You would be absolutely fine taking any of these, but if you can fit in the 20 points for Thermoneutronic, oh, absolutely fucking amazing. And by the way, I put this on a Fire Knife unit. It wasn't on a Star Scythe unit. The Commander went with Fire Knives, and it was still absolutely fucking great because your Flamer is 18 inches, which is the old range of your Cyclic now going to 24, which means a lot of stuff was always within 18 inches. And for Overwatch purposes, generally, they were within 18 inches. So, stratagems. Automated repair drones. Battlesuit in any command phase, not just yours, any command phase, heal D3+1. Reactive impact dampeners. -1 to wound when your opponent's strength is greater than your toughness on a Tower Empire battlesuit shooting or fight phase. Experimental weaponry, do not ever spend on this. This is shit. Do not. This doesn't exist. This detachment has 5 stratagems. Experimental ammunition, +1 strength, and if you decide to take hazardous, also gain -1 AP. Cannot be used at the same time as threat assessment analyzer. This on not just battlesuit, on anybody is a great stratagem. Threat assessment analyzer. Shooting phase, 1 Tower Empire unit, choose sustained or lethal hits, or if you take hazardous, get both. Cannot be used at the same time as the one above. Now, notice that there was a difference between these two. They function very similarly. This one is take strength, not choose, take strength, and if you take hazardous, also get AP. This one is sustained hits or lethal hits, whichever one you want, and if you take hazardous, you get both. There are people that fuck this one up and go for AP because they don't want the strength. To get the AP, you must take the hazardous, so bear that in mind. Neuroweb System Jammer, Shooting Phase, Crisis Unit, Lone Op 18. Really good. As I was saying in the Kroot Hunting Pack 1, because I only ran in the Immortal Tower list a single Crisis Unit, it meant that a lot of the time I would just psych my opponent into not making me spend the CP, which was really fucking good. These 4 stratagems, and this one a little bit, but there's only one unit that benefits from it. So, like, this one I know is good, so I'm not going to harp too much on it. These are 2 of the best damage stratagems that I could hope for. These are 2 of the best defensive stratagems that I could hope for. Now, When will you play Experimental Prototype Cadre? One, I can highly recommend it for somebody that is just starting out and wants the least amount of cognitive load. Now, I don't recommend it higher than Mont'ka because Mont'ka giving assault, giving lethal hits, speed fixes positioning mistakes. Straight out, speed fixes positioning mistakes. Where Experimental Prototype Cadre is great, you don't have to remember much of a detachment rule, and you play this when you play Immortal Tau. I don't think that this is good for like a max like crisis loadout or anything. I think there are better detachments. I would just run Retcad, honestly. This is great when you lean into what we discovered with Immortal Tau, which is being able to live through shit that your opponent doesn't expect you to, because living through stuff fixes mistakes. It is less punishing when something doesn't die and then it starts healing. Have you ever stood in someone's face and had a Ghost Kill heal 12 wounds? Healed its entire wound count across the course of a game. Do you know how fucking infuriating a Ghost Kill is for your opponent to try and kill when it's played well? Or a Riptide with a 4-up invuln with -1 to wound that keeps healing and killing fucking everything because it's got a strength 10 gun now, and you keep giving it sustained and lethal hits? Like... I don't know, it seems like less DACA to me. It is less DACA. It is less DACA than other detachments. That said, I never struggled to kill anything, unless my dice were betraying me in the one loss I had. In every game I had, I was still killing very efficiently. Very, very efficiently. Yes, you're not getting monstrous amount of damage buffs. But have you guys ever tried, legitimately, have you ever tried playing Tau and shooting at somebody without stacking any buffs or rules or whatever? Have you actually seen how good our shooting is? Now, Tau doesn't just run the entire game because you've got to factor in terrain, player mistakes, abilities that our opponents have or whatever. But at base shooting, we are actually really good. We're one of the few armies that universally ignores cover, which is a big defensive mechanic across this edition. And if you build your list correctly, like with the Immortal Tau list, broadsides kill their intended target. They do very well. And like I said earlier in the stream, we are not an army that just one bangs a unit. We are combined arms. We use lots of different platforms to get rid of threats and steadily get rid of our opponent in efficient trading patterns. If you expect to just one bang every unit you look at, you'll be disappointed with one bang with one platform is what I will say. Now, Fire Knives do a shitload of damage, but if I'm staring down the barrel of a 20-man Berserker unit with a character, even with sustained hits, a Fire Knife unit is not going to get through them. I have to have something else sitting behind them to get through that many fucking wounds. Like I said, I play this with Storm Surge and I fucking love it. Yeah, I love the Storm Surge. I really do. It's really, really good. I wish that it had the Battlesuit keyword so you can -1 to wound it and heal it, but yeah, again, GW, do us a favor. Remove Battlesuit. Or, sorry, not remove Battlesuit. Give Battlesuit to the Storm Surge. Don't remove it from this, because this makes sense. But yeah, give it Battlesuit. I know it's a ballistic suit. I know I'm talking from a pure rules perspective. Well, hey, 3 Riptide shooting one thing kills it. Just depends what the backup out is. Exactly. Even as poorly as I played, it was still killing stuff easily when my dice didn't fall in their face. Yeah. And you have to factor for that. Anybody who expects that every time they roll to hit and wound, that all their stuff's going to go through and their opponent's going to fail all their saves is fucking kidding themselves. You have to, and this is damage calculation that you do in your head that separates good players from bad players during the course of their shooting or fight phase. Good players know their expected damage and know what falls outside of the delta. And that's just an experience thing. That's getting games in, and that's being honest and humble with yourself so that you don't skew the perception of what something should do. Like, everybody's got that friend. And maybe this is you. That when they talk about what a unit can do, they're like, oh, and I've got Oath of Moment, and I've got this stratagem, and I've got this stratagem, and this unit's doing this, and I've got this buff, and I've got this buff, and then they get into a game, and their opponent doesn't stand in the open and give them everything, and they've got to spend their CP on re-rolls or something else, or they go to a phase and they didn't plan well enough for their CP, and then they don't have all those buffs, and they had to put Oath of Moment onto a different target, and then that unit falls down the what the fuck is this bullshit? My dice don't work. Because they did not correctly and humbly calculate their damage and work upwards when they start stacking buffs. And account for the fact that dice are dice. But yeah, also 10-man Vespid might be meta now. Explain. Explain why you believe that it's meta. Cool. All right, we are caught up with chat. So, the big weakness of experimental prototype Cadre is that all of its power is in its stratagems. All of its power is in its stratagems, and it kind of baits people into playing a more crisis-heavy list, which is not good at the moment. It isn't. Our crisis suits are just not where I want them to be for them to be a spammable unit. The single unit that I put in with the Commander and the Fire Knife did fucking wonders. But that was because there was a core of a list built around it that wasn't just other crisis suits that die to a fucking sneeze. -1 to wound on the crisis suits actually didn't do anything, and the most common spend was healing and -1 to wound on the Ghost Keel and the Riptides. Sure, if I had nothing else to do and I wanted the crisis suits to live, I'd -1 to wound them, sure. But I didn't expect them to just live through anything that my opponent was going to throw at them, so I would play very defensive angle shooting, and I don't mean in the shitty way. I mean that I lined up so that I got my line of sight, but mitigated counter shooting risk, or put them at 18 inches or greater so that I could go, cool, I can shoot you, but on my turn I've got a CP, you're not going to shoot me. Cool, we good? And that was how I kept them alive. I didn't rely on these defensive layers because usually offensive or defensive layers have an exponential increase the more of the same type that you stack on top of each other. So let's look at like Riptides, for example. 2-up armor, 4-up invuln, -1 to wound, healing. When you start like at the 2-up, 4-up, that's good. That's good, but you know, and T9 is great as well, but you're like, oh yeah, cool, but they're still going to kill it. But then you tell your opponent, okay, I'm -1 to wound. And they're like, oh, okay, that changes the math. And then in your command phase, it heals for D3+1. And then you go around, you do a bunch of shooting. And then in their command phase, it heals for D3+1. And then all of a sudden, that Riptide has potentially gotten back 8 wounds. That then becomes a fucking monster of a thing for your opponent to take down. And they have to one-bang it, or it runs around fucking healing again. So you can see when stacking similar types of layers, be they defensive or offensive, is what turns something into a skew that is hard for your opponent to deal with. And that is where I believe experimental prototype Cadre really shines. It is a great detachment for a specific list that is built well. I love to death the prototype weapons, like throwback to 9th. I desperately wish that I could use all of these on commanders and crisis suits and whatever else. Maybe we'll get there. But at the moment, we can't, so we play the game that, you know, the GW is giving us. And drop its points. I assume you're talking about the Storm Surge, which, fuck yeah. Mont'ka Scout Advance, Blaster, Screening Unit, then Forward Screen and such. Playing heavy Mont'ka, so all this is just my hot take. So that's what I mean. That's what I was like, explain. You can't be like, it's meta, which meta is most effective tactic available, which means that, like, 99.9% of players will play it because it's just like strictly that strong. I don't hate the Vespid unit. The big thing that stops it being meta for a damage unit, in my opinion, is that there is no way to guide it. If they could get something like in my opinion, the 10-man ability that the Vespid Strain Leader gets should be this unit gains for the greater good keyword. Like that would be fantastic. They don't have marker lights, so you can't get ignore cover. It doesn't make it like a premier guiding unit. But it does allow them to shoot better, which changes the nature of their role. I really, really wish GW would pull that trigger. But it's not a bad thing. Like 10-man Vespid units are actually surprisingly efficient, and they are a little bit of a fuck around and find out unit, where your opponent ignores it at its own peril, and then I have like 20 strength 5 AP2 damage 2 shots coming at them, or reduce that a little bit for the flamer and the rail gun and whatever. But yeah, it's and obviously that's not me throwing any shade. I fucking love that you're doing that as a bit of tech in Mont'ka, and that's something that I actually would love to try in a couple of my games. But yeah, I find with especially something like Mont'ka, I do end up using my points elsewhere because that extra 5 of Vespid is a piranha body. And then I work out, and it's also relevant to like local metas. If my local meta includes a lot of monsters and vehicles or whatever else, I'm naturally going to gravitate to stuff that can deal with that. But yeah, we'll have to see how post data slate really affects that, because I'm not going to be hitting an event until the new year. So data slate will have an impact, and then the meta I walk into next year is almost guaranteed not going to be the same one that we've had this year. Yeah, after seeing your Immortal Tower list, I changed mine down to 2 star size, and I'm thinking of changing it down to 1. I really do stand by a single crisis unit, or if you're going to go to, the Fine Knife, in my opinion, is like non-negotiable. That, I am so glad that I made that change, and I don't think I would ever take it out of the list unless there is a monstrous shakeup to the meta. But like, even still, a single Star Scythe unit might actually take the place of one of my Stealth Suit units. I don't want it to, because I'm still running 2 Stealth Suit units. I accounted for that and changed the list. Because, again, in my opinion, when you take Riptides, you take Stealth Suits. They're too swingy to not have reroll 1s to hit and wound. And the wound one is especially relevant. On the turn that you activate your Devastating Wounds, yeah, it's not going to always reroll into a 6, but I want to have every opportunity. If I see 1s, and I'm a little bit biased, my dice were cursed before I passed it on to Bill, but I don't want to see those 1s without being able to pick them up and fucking roll them again. I want my Riptides, if I'm investing 190 points, I want them to be the best that they can be. And yeah, that means I'm jamming in the Stealth Suits. And yeah, I'm not happy about it. But I'm a tournament player. I will have to swallow whatever fucking dick I have to swallow in order to win my games. And if it's the best thing that is available to me, I will take that. Doesn't matter my personal feelings on it. I never heard of anyone saying most effective tactic available. Well, that's where it came from. That, like, from what was the first game to use meta? I don't know if it was League of Legends or if it was Dota. But yeah, meta is most effective tactic available. And then it got like broadened out to basically be its own fucking noun and verb and whatever, where now it's metagame and it's blah, blah, blah. And like, obviously meta is already a word that, you know, exists in other contexts, but it didn't really make sense for the context that it started in. But now it's just kind of taken off into its own little, it's like the word yeet, where everybody just picked it up and now it is a word that everybody accepts is a word. Meta was always the Greek prefix. Yeah, no, 100%. And I'm not saying it didn't exist beforehand, but when it was applied to a specific thing, it was most effective tactic available. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's not like the game invented the word. All right, so everybody, that is our detachment breakdown. If anybody has any questions, we will go for just a little bit longer, but that is a 2 hour and 40-minute stream breaking down all of the detachments. And I hope this really shows to people why the game is as broad as it is and why I like doing breakdowns like this and I don't like doing something like a tier list. Because a tier list doesn't give you that information. It doesn't give you all of the bits and pieces of why I don't like saying professional player, but I guess I am, because like I make money off playing Tau. But is why professional players choose the things they do, like the things they do or don't, why they appear in lists or why they don't appear in lists. Because it's easy to go onto like BCP and look at a list and go, oh, he didn't pick any of these things. He picked this, 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 and this. And you have no idea if it's just that player being like, I'm going to fuck with the meta. I want to play these units for my own enjoyment. I don't think it's good, but I'm going to do it. Somebody could look at that without context and be like, oh, okay, cool. This is now the good thing. But yeah, I'm sure meta was a thing in CNC back in the day. It actually might have been. It might have been. I don't know how far back it goes, but I do know that that's what solidified it as a term that is now like broadly used in all aspects of gaming. Even things that shouldn't have a meta attached to it, somebody tries to establish a meta. It just, yeah. But yeah. While we're waiting for any final questions to come in, again, thank you so much to all of my patrons. You make all of my videos possible. If you would like to join them, join us in the Discord with our wonderful community, as well as get a bunch of other benefits for yourself. Have a look in the description. I want to say especially a thank you to my Pantheon tier patrons, not only for, getting hours and hours and hours and hours of coaching every month, as well as games against me and Discord events and that sort of stuff. But those guys have really, really given Chelsea and I a lot of security in one of the worst times of my life, which, by the way, is still ongoing. I know that when I'm in front of camera, I make myself very cheery and happy and whatever else, but I am still in the grips of PTSD. Not every day is particularly great. And I always, always appreciate people that are willing to support me and my stream and my family and everything else. So they have just been absolute giga chads. And that's not to discount my chassos and my Twitch subs and everything else, but I really, really do appreciate people that enjoy me and my coaching enough to invest in it. So, yeah. Well, I was annoyed with my boy being up at stupid o'clock today, and then he started streaming, so I guess he did me a favor. You're absolutely right. You should really, really thank him. Really thank him. Yeah, meta and CNC in Diablo 1 uses a kit in the 90s. Yeah, nice. What did you change in the Immortal list with the stealth suit increase? You know what? I'm feeling I'm going to be stepping on the toes of my own like Patreon and monetization and everything else. But you know what? We've been having a great stream. I'm feeling pretty fucking charitable. So let's have a look at it. So Immortal Tau, I think it was number 3. Or was it just number 2? Oh, no, this one is the third one because of naming nomenclature. Okay, cool. So what did we do? Now, let me just double check. This is the one that I adjusted. It's got the double stealth suits. Yep. So Commander, not changed. Ethereal, not changed. Double Kroot Carnivore, unit of Kroot Farstalkers, 2 Pathfinders, 2 stealth suits, 2 Vespid. Triple Broadside, Fire Knife, 1 Ghost Keel, Triptide. That's what we did. So to run through again, Enhancement, Thermoneutronic, Cyclic, Double Missile Pod, Thermo on the Commander and Cold Star, Ethereal. Double Kroot Carnivore, Kroot Farstalkers. Double Pathfinder with Grav Inhibitor drones. I took out the Recon drone and put in the Grav Inhibitor because the Farstalkers came in. Double Stealth Battlesuits. Double Vespid. Triple Broadside, Single Mans. One thing I am going to change. I wasn't happy with the Twin SMS. I'm going to be going to the Twin Plasma. I'll make that change now. Fire Knife unit with missile pods. Gun marker on the leader. Gun shield on the other guy. Though, to be honest, I never had to guide with them, so that might be something that I change and just go, fuck it, they don't have the marker like keyword. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do that, and I'm going to play a game and just see how I feel. So it'll be gun shield on everybody. Single Ghost Keel with Cyclic Ion Raker and Twin Fusion. And then Ion Accelerator, 2x Missile Drone, Twin Fusion. Got to be the first time I've seen Farstalkers taken competitively? Nah, there's a few of them. They're not as good as a single unit of Pathfinders when you just want strict efficiency in terms of points, because a single unit of Pathfinders will do you very well. But one thing I found through that tournament is that I didn't strictly need the second Ghost Keel. One was usually doing a lot of heavy lifting, but having a bunch of little bodies that my opponent had to worry about that was scoring me all my points and then stressing over all this excellent shooting that was also really hard to kill. The extra bodies are going to help out so much more. And the Grav Inhibitor drones were actually really big. I didn't have to spend a ton of time positioning Pathfinders and then scout moving them into a position that I couldn't have just put Farstalkers at base. And this was what I had to do to keep the Thermoneutronic in 2,000 points. So, yeah. This is where I landed. If there's anything more, then I will, I'll answer any questions, but if not, we will wrap ourselves up there. Mr. Bro, good to have you back. Your ex-employer hopefully steps on Legos every morning they get out of bed. Unfortunately, I know for a fact that the main perpetrator got promoted. So no such justice just yet. But we are in the process of chasing that justice. So we will see. We will see. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I really, really appreciate everybody joining us for these streams. Everybody that's been donating, subbing, gifting subs, whatever else. Join me tonight for Grotmas in about 3 hours' time. About 3 hours' time. We're going to be going through CSM drop from Grotmas, talking about what we are hoping for the next one. The Grotmas streams are always a lot of fun, so make sure you join us for that. Follow on Twitch or just be in the Discord for the notifications. That's it from me. Best of luck, Chassos, in building your lists, and I hope you have a lot of fun playing my favorite faction. Tower fucking great, and don't let anybody tell you different. Love you, Chas. Catch you later.